tried to pull me low. With their heavy hands and bitter words, they thought they'd steal my show. But I was born in thunder, pain and fire deep inside. Rise back up, a stronger man, no matter how many times they tried. Unbreakable, unshakable, unbreakable, unshakable.
Jerks, happy Friday. I hope you're enjoying the weather. It's beautiful out. A tough day to do a show right now, but I felt like I needed to do one. It's been a while. The trolls are coming at me about my lack of super chats over the last 7 days because I haven't done a show. Haven't done a live show since I think last Friday. I think it was. I think that was the last live show. I've been very busy in my life. I'm finding the breaks that I take are very helpful for me. Really enjoying them. I don't always have to go so hard, and I enjoy that the people miss me because I got a lot of messages from you over the last couple days. People checking in saying, "Are you all right? When are you coming back? I want to see a show. Let's go." Well, here we are, surprise show. We're here. We had a change of plans. We thought we had a great guest tonight. Didn't work out, but we got so much content to catch up on. Just saying hi. They were really, they thought they had a gotcha moment that I only made, I think, $45 in super chats last week. I was like, really? I made 45 and I didn't do a show? I'm pretty happy on that. Thank you. Thank you for the $45 while I was on vacation last week. Maybe we can get some more super chats tonight and really get them all riled up. The trolls, they keep track of everything we're doing. They say we don't matter, but we apparently we run elections. We decide things, but we don't matter. It's just unbelievable all the stuff that comes at us lately. And the crew of us, there's a bunch of us. Oh, it was $57. Thank you. It was actually 57. I thought it was 45 or something. I don't know. You can see I don't keep track. I'm doing fine. I was just laughing because I did take a week off and I'm a hardworking guy, but I was still working the dogs. I still did the radio show, Grace Curley today again, every Friday. And I still made a lot of money on my stocks, my portfolio this week. It was just like, wow, record high. I hit a record high this week. So on vacation, I'm still making money. Sorry, trolls. It's just when you have multiple incomes, you can take some time off on one of them, which is YouTube, which has been kind of the rainmaker, but it also takes up a lot of time. A lot of time. And sometimes when you go so hard so often, you just kind of need a few days, maybe a week off. It's nice to take a week and get some solitude. I'm not sure even what this question's about. Mike, what did you think of that newly released footage of Karen Reed's second arrest? I don't even know what you're talking about. I guess I haven't seen it. I don't keep up with every detail. I'm not like it's funny. It's who knows? I'm not sure what you're gonna have to put some more details. What should I be looking at? Um, we're gonna talk about this DA race. I also wanted to because I missed again. This week was also my birthday. That was the other thing. We're celebrating my birthday. I had a lot going on this week. I also did a lot of planting flowers, which was awesome. I did a lot of gardening. And my fingers are probably still. I took a shower again today. I've been taking like 2 showers a day to get all the dirt out of my fingers because I've done a lot of gardening over the last couple days. It was perfect timing too with the rain yesterday and then the sun today. It's like, yeah, those plants are loving their new spots. Oh yeah, the Wade Proctor. Yeah, I mean, that's not really new though. I mean, we saw that earlier. I thought it was maybe something new. Yeah, I mean Proctor. He's just an idiot. I think about Proctor that's going to be interesting is these new text messages. Do we get to see them? Because apparently there's a lot worse than what came out in the Karen Reed trials, and it's been revealed just recently in that hearing that we saw with three different individuals represented by counsel. Really four if you count Michael Proctor, but the two defendants up on murder charges, and then Karen Reed, and then Michael Proctor. They're all talking about the text messages, and Karen Reed obviously was going to get them, and she did. She's going to get them for her civil lawsuit that's upcoming. But yeah, I wanted to because I missed the Canton Select Board. I figured we'd just start there. I want to catch up on video I haven't seen that I haven't broadcast because it was my birthday the other night. We had a family birthday dinner, and I skipped the Canton Select Board. You know, that's the thing. I don't think people realize some of us YouTubers how, especially me. I'm sure others are like this too. JFK seems like that. LTL seems like that. We do a lot of shows. We bring a lot of content. We work really hard. We go hard all the time. And for me, the last couple of years, I've covered pretty much every single Kansas Select Board meeting. And this week I said, you know what? I'm taking it off. You know, it's a new select board. It's not as important. My family wanted to go out that night for my birthday, and it's like, you know what, these are the things I need to focus on, is getting off YouTube and not have to be on YouTube every night, even when it's a Canton Select Board. I'm pretty sure the other channel probably covered it as well. Other people would clip it and put it out. It's not like it's so needed to broadcast every Canton Select Board meeting. I'm not sure going forward if I'm gonna be as militant on being there and getting every single Canton Select Board hearing up on our YouTube live. But we're reviewing tonight. We like I said, I missed the April 28th because it was my birthday dinner, and I chose to go out with the family, which is what I want to do more of actually. Sometimes you gotta get off YouTube. So, but let's play it. Let's just play this one. Sure, a lot of people have already seen it. I haven't seen it. I have no idea what's going to happen here. We're just going to play a little bit of this because I know Brenda speaks again. We always like to see Brenda at the Canton Select Board meeting.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, April 28, 2026. We are returning from executive session, the time being 7 o'clock at Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street, Canton, in the Sala meeting room.
There she is.
Tonight we are missing Select Board member Mike Loughran, who's out of state, as our town administrator is also out of state. So we're going to continue without them. So just let you know, we have no choice. We wish them well in their journey. The first order of business will be public comment. I just want to say, if anybody has a comment or something to say about an agenda item that's not a public hearing, I'd like you to try and fit that in your public comment. So, because we get people to come up to the mic. Last week we cut somebody off at the mic, and I didn't want to do that, but we were in discussion. But we really shouldn't have people at the mics when we're just talking about regular business and asking us questions or whatever. It should be done at public comment. So with that said, I have to read the statement prior to public comment. Public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity to listen to residents' feedbacks and concerns, but the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a question and answer format. There'll be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and 3 minutes per speaker. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others in the room who wish to do the same, so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak, who is unable to speak due to the time limit, may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. With that said, we will start public comment at 7:02.
Brenda Sweeney, Canton, my opinion. When bullies are not held accountable, their actions gain momentum. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and faster. Left unchecked, it becomes an avalanche that could easily become a lethal force. Lack of accountability is our problem. It shouldn't matter that someone did some good in the past if their current behavior is despicable. Yet in Canton, it gets you a pass for life. Nothing the random freaking citizens say matter more than that pass. Our audit chair's behavior was absolutely disgraceful, yet he's being considered for a reappointment to a different committee today. Zero accountability. The last 5 years of the zoning board minutes are missing from the town's website. There's multiple reports of bullying by that same board, yet the chair is being considered for reappointment today. Zero transparency, zero accountability. A toxic culture emboldened by zero accountability is the recipe for disaster that shaped events in Canton. Despite cries for help from the citizens, leadership enabled our police to become bullies with power. We heard the words from Proctor's text declaring, "It's kill an N-word in Canton Day." One of our own police officers shared those sentiments with him. Bullies left unchecked, celebrating killing. Those two men have plenty of drinking buddies in town. Our own residents formed an email campaign pleading to save Proctor's job, to keep celebrating.
I just referenced that earlier about some new revelations about Proctor and Good's text. That came out from Rosemary Scapiccio, a defense attorney, the other day in court. That's new. And it's very good that Brenda ties it back and reminds everybody that a lot of the Canton residents and the Canton police, they back Proctor. And they had to know that was out there. Rose sends 25 smackers, says, "Happy birthday, Money Making Mike. Who's going to match?" Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hopefully, that Turtle Boy War Room Twitter account adds that to the tally for this next week. Hopefully, they keep track this week, too. And we increase those numbers so the trolls get very upset that I go up from, 40 or 50, whatever it was. I don't even know. Whatever it was I made last week when I didn't do a show. We're already halfway there. $25 for a show this week. Holy crap. Thank you so much, Rose, again. Much appreciated. Hopefully some people match it. Let's get these trolls all mad tonight. That's what they hate. They get so mad. They get so mad. So we're going to talk about some of the trolls tonight, about some of the shit that they've been, so how funny it is. How funny it is. I'm just enjoying life lately. It's really freaking amusing. It really is.
That mindset explains why our little helpers have no problem covering up murder. It's no wonder other residents tell me they keep their heads down and keep quiet just to survive. Wonder what the celebration was called the day Sandra Birchmore was killed. I wonder what the celebration was called the day John O'Keefe was killed. I wonder if Craig Casey had a celebration. I wonder how many celebrations there have been. To them, Karen.
I gotta stop that and rewind that because that was powerful what she just said. It looked like I was celebrating her words, which I wasn't. I mean, that's a tough passage of words of talking about these different folks, but I'm celebrating the super chat. Natalie Diana said she's gonna match. She said $49.99 in. Said I'll match Rose. Happy birthday, Mikey. I hope Turtle Boy War Room. Maybe that we should give them a commission because they're bringing in the super chats tonight. We've already gone over what they said we made last week when we didn't do a show, just in the first 10 minutes tonight because of the Turtle Boy War Room. Thank you so much, Turtle Boy War Room, because now we got Natalie Diana and we have Rose. Love it. This is unbelievable. Thank you so much. That's what I was sharing for. Got a little excited. This is fun. Oh, Sheila's going to Venmo me. See? Wow. We're going to get some Venmos in tonight. You know, that's a good thing. I'll put the Venmo up so people can see the Venmo if they want to give that way as well. You can send a message too. I'll read it for the audience, for the jerks out there. I will definitely read it. And maybe you want to send a message to Turtle Boy War Room. Wow. Oh, I want to thank the War Room. War Room's helping us get that money. Get that money. Oh, yeah, I appreciate the Venmos. It's much better on the transaction fees. YouTube doesn't take half of it. YouTube and Apple. All right, let's get back to Brenda. I want to rewind it a little bit. Just Ready?
to
Go, Brenda.
survive. Wonder what the celebration was called the day Sandra Birchmore was killed. I wonder what the celebration was called the day John O'Keefe was killed. I wonder if Craig Casey had a celebration. I wonder how many celebrations there have been. To them, Karen Reed was worthless. They made the mistake of underestimating her. She faced that avalanche head on and halted its momentum, exposing the dirty underbelly of Canton. Every avalanche starts as a single snowflake. A single event has that same possibility of cascading out of control without accountability. We brought change to our police department. Now we need to do our part at this level by correcting bad behavior in our government. The buck stops here. Sever access to the power that allows that behavior to thrive so that this community can heal. Wonder how different this town would be if we had started holding people accountable a long time ago. Makes you wonder who would be alive today if we had. Accountability matters. Thank you.
Stopped here. That's Brenda Sweeney. I just saw Ashley Bell walked in. Let's see if there's any other speeches, any other people giving public comment. I also wanted to acknowledge, wow, Rando supporter since 1999. We are up. We made more in the first 20 minutes here on this show than we did all of last week when we didn't do a show. Rando supporter since 1999. It says for the war room. Clock that. Happy birthday, handsome fella. Oh, now I'm blushing. Thank you so much, Rando supporter. Oh my God, I love this. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciation to the war room for getting our super chats up tonight already. We don't have the largest audience here tonight. Last minute show, but the super chats are coming in. You ladies are kicking in the super chat. You're making me blush. I am blushing. It's been a while. I missed you all. It's funny too, because last week I could have definitely done what some YouTubers do, and I think I've done it before, is do a show on your birthday or announce that it's your birthday, and then I could have gotten, this week I could have easily just freaking, it's funny that they hit me up on this week. Fucking hilarious. Oh, they are so watching me. I love that they watch me still. I really appreciate those trolls that watch. They're dedicated to it.
Anybody else like to speak?
They need to clip more clips, though. They're not clipping as much. Need some more clips. Even for the people who support me, we need more clips. You guys used to clip us more. We need more clips. To the trolls, too. More Twitter clips, please.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You made
Thanks,
it.
Mr. Chair. Mike Corey, Lillian Road in Canton. I'm a member of the zoning board. I'm a lawyer. I've been on the zoning board about 10 years. And I understood what had happened. I wasn't at the last hearing, but I know there was a debate. And I'm frankly all for change, and I'm not here to speak for my own reappointment.
Oh, man. When I hear lawyer, zoning board, I just kind of zonk out. But he said he's here for change. Let's see what he has to say. This could be really interesting, a really tedious 3 minutes. We'll see.
And whenever that comes up, you want to get rid of me, I'll get my every other Thursday back. But I really,
this is the guy they want to get rid of.
really am concerned about not reappointing Greg Pando. He is
Okay, no, he's not.
a tremendous asset to this town. He had, what we do is very technical. I'm a zoning lawyer. I advocate all over Norfolk County and beyond. And I've never seen anyone run a meeting better than Greg. He has a unique set of skills. One, he's a great design professional. As a result, when designers come up, when architects, engineers come up, he has really positive points to raise with them.
This is about the planning board. They want to replace the planning board leader, I think the chairman, who's been there the longest, with somebody who's new. Some of the new women who are on the select board suggested it. I don't know if it's going to happen. There's some discussion about it. So that's what this is about. I wanted to thank, oh my God, the super chat's coming in tonight. We're killing it. Sue B just sent $25 and said, happy birthday to you. Keep on rocking on. Oh, keep on keeping on. Sorry. Keep on keeping on. Thank you so much, Sue Doobie. Subi Doobie. Subi Doobie. Thank you, Subi Doobie. I like that. Subi Doobie. Thank you so much. And Law Talk is, I love her. She's awesome too. She says, we've moved on from the losers. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of losers out there. But you know what? We haven't really moved on. Some people like you're obsessed. You're so no. We've moved to laughter and chuckling. That's what I love. Like people like watch Lana. Why I watch Lana is I just love her little chuckling. She just chuckles. It's like these aren't our problems. Like I don't have lawsuits. I don't need to pay a lawyer. I don't have any. What's the other thing? Criminal charges. Like I don't have drama with multiple people. I'm not threatening to get people fired from jobs. Like I'm just saying, having a good time. And that's our audience. And we read books over here. We talk to authors. We have a diverse opinions here. I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying what's going on the show. I am. I'm enjoying the chat. I miss you. It's been a week. You know, it was a week. We didn't do a show for a week, which was perfect. That's what I need sometimes. Come back ready to go. I was ready to go today. So I want to thank everyone who super chatted tonight. We're killing it. Our numbers are up tonight. Oh my God. We got more super chats this week than we did last week already. In less than what? When did we get on here? And 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, we doubled our super chats from last week. We are on a roll, let me tell you.
And improvements. For example,
I'm getting prime
Nick
rib.
Mathis' building. We made it so much better than as was originally designed. Then there
thank
were
you,
a number
Natalie.
of other projects that were coming in near the train station. And we, through Greg, I'd like to say I had a little bit to do with it, and as well as
Yeah, let me say something on this too. Queen of the Pool says it was terrible again Wednesday seeing Brian being picked on for no reason. The thing is, like, I don't watch that shit, so I don't even know until I see it clipped on Twitter. And I saw some of the clips, and it's funny because that shit used to actually, I think, bother Brian and even myself. And a lot of times it bothers me more when it's people I know and not myself. Like myself, I don't even care. But when it's other people that I like and respect, it does bother me. And when I saw that, I just started laughing my ass off because I know that watching Brian and his content right now, like it's like a duck's ass, like it's just water in a duck's ass. It's just like he's doing his show every freaking night, killing it. He's doing the documents at the end. He's the old Brian. He's crushing it. And that's why they're going after Brian again. They want to see him down. They want to see him depressed. They want to see him not doing shows. They want to see him crushed, but he's not crushed. He's back. He's back, and he's just going to keep doing shows, and he's going to keep killing it. And people like Brian. So for me, it was just like, this is like unbelievable. This is so good for us. Like for me, for him, when they attack us now, Turtle Boy even said it. One of his shows, like when I was fucking with him, when I hit the button on it. Remember I hit the button and he got so mad and he doxed me? He said, you should be happy that I'm reminding people you still exist. And it's the reality of it. And it's even twofold too when he's admitting we exist, not to really bag on us, to try to keep us down, because he knows that we're coming back, that it's on the upswing, that people are responding to real content and not the drama. So it's just funny. It's like, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. Like, just you're triggered on Brian. I thought you said you didn't watch Brian. I thought you said you didn't watch the Young Jerks, but you watch everything we fucking do. You're watching us go independent. We don't need anybody. That's what you're realizing. That's what really got you pissed off, is that you didn't destroy us. We came back stronger. And we don't give a shit that we have less viewers because we know who we have are good people, and it's going to continue to grow. I mean, that's it. We've done this before. I enjoy it. Like when they come after us now, it's like, for me, I just laugh. Happy birthday, Mike. Simon said $10, the big, or 10 pounds. The big dog is here. He's the big donator. He said, paid some bills, bro. I'm glad you paid your bills off. Can't match these Supergirls. Happy weekend to the Young Jerks, Rock, and LTL with Nan. Yes, and Nan gets them so fired up. They get so mad about Nan. It's so funny. Oh, thank you, Simon. I appreciate it. You do support us quite a bit. Thank you so much. All right, let's watch this finance board guy.
as well as Brian Black, but Greg really kind of worked a situation around so that we could get some affordable housing, get single bedroom units near the train station, and it was, it's all fitting in nicely within the MBTA mandate. Without him, we wouldn't have that. Also, Greg's knowledge of the history of the town, tremendous. There was a proposal for essentially a demolition of the old church next to the public land on Route 138 near the intersection of 95. Greg knew the history of that and how important it was to the history of Canton, and worked with the architects and the church purchaser to keep the front of the building as it was, and redevelop the rear so that it would be useful for the church while also keeping the historical aspect. And just recently, we discussed with the developer off Green Street their desire to kind of clear land, and we worked with George Camo to try to figure out a way through which he could somehow preserve the opportunity to continue to find ancient artifacts up to 7,000 years old. There wasn't anything legally we could do, but we worked with the engineer for the proponent. I'm hopeful that we've encouraged the applicant to come up with something that would serve the historical nature. This was all Greg, and we're really lucky to have him. And that's all I wanted to say. I really appreciate what this board is doing, the thought of it, because as the speaker before me said, there are real concerns about things this town has done. Greg isn't part of that. He's really a tremendous asset. Thanks.
Is anybody else care to come up and speak?
Funny, none of you guys want to hear about the zoning board. You're like, 3 minutes is up, 3 minutes is up. But it's an important discussion. Zoning board is important. This is interesting, actually. I don't know who's right on this. Like, it seems like you do want experienced people, but sometimes people do stay too long. There's two perspectives on this that are interesting. I'm smiling because it's not only the super chats coming in, the Venmos are coming in, and some topics. You guys I love the chat. You guys are bringing up such good things from Twitter, and even asking me a question. I'm going to get to it in a second. But we had some Venmos come in. Venmos haven't come in lately, and I'm like, wow. I want to thank, again, what was that? What is it? Turtle Boys War Room or something? The Turtle Room. Like they're helping us with the Venmos. We got Sheila G. I love Sheila G. You play some music. She says, "Happy birthday! Don't read my name, please." I read Sheila G. I'm sorry, I didn't see that, but I didn't read your last name, so I think you're safe. I think it's fine to say Sheila G. I didn't see that you didn't say it. It's funny. Thank you, though. I think you're fine. We didn't read the last name. Thank you, Sheila. I never read the last name just in case because of that. So I feel like people are safe on that. Carrie S. sent $10, and she said, low on cash, but want to add to the total for the war room. F the trolls. Oh, thank you. Yeah, we are gonna keep a tally now. So far that's 10 and 10. That's 20 on Venmo. Oh, and we got another 20 from Dennis, a good friend of the show. Dennis, his wife just spoke. He said, appreciate the support, brother. So that's 40 on Venmo. 40 Venmo tonight. Thanks to the Turtle War Room and all the super chats. We've had, what are we up to? 9? No, not 9. I think it's 7 super chats. 8. Oh, look, Rita Lombardi's here. Oh my God, Rita Lombardi just became a member. Let's hear it. Put your ones in the chat right now. See what I mean? This is what I love about my chat. We may not have 5,000 people here, but we got the right people here. We got Dennis here. We got Rita Lombardi here. Put a one in the chat right now for Rita Lombardi for being in the chat tonight, becoming a member. Yeah. Yeah, Rita's here. I love it. Rita, God bless you. I would love to. Rita and I talk sometimes. We sometimes chat on the phone and sometimes send some messages back and forth. I would love to have our friend Rita back on the show anytime. I know she's busy. She had to get back with her family. This whole thing has taken a whole huge toll on her. She probably doesn't want to come back up on the show. But if you ever do, Rita, you know you're welcome here. I always like to talk to you about anything. We can talk about, I don't know, TV shows. We don't even have to talk about Ken. I could talk to Rita about anything. Maybe about grass. Maybe our gardens. Does she garden? I'm big about gardens right now. I just planted a lot of flowers and some other crops. We got some crops growing. Yeah, the Queen has entered the chat. Rita Lombardi is here right now. Rita the Queen. We are celebrating Rita Lombardi right now. Look at all these ones. Yeah, we have Miss Rita. That's what I'm saying. Look, we got another new member, Keith Frevold. Oh my God, we are killing it tonight. Look at this. I want to thank the Turtle Boy War Room for inspiring all these super chats tonight. Wow. Thank you so much. Look at all the support for Rita, though. Rita, do you understand how much people love you? Especially on this channel, especially in this chat. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a good day, too, on the Grace Curley show. I felt really strong today. It's funny. Sometimes I don't feel very good on Grace. I feel like it's tough, especially doing it on the phone for me. Today, I felt like I did a good job. I felt like I was very strong. I listened to it back. It was pretty good. Grace is really good. She's a good host. She makes it easy for me. Yeah, look at, I mean, I can't even, I've been posting all these Rita comments. They just keep going. People are very excited Rita's here right now. The ones in the comments, the support for Rita is like never ending in our chat right now. It is never ending. I'm trying to post them all and I can't keep up. It's like, you'd think we have 5,000 people in the chat with the number of comments supporting Rita right now. Wow. This is awesome. I feel good today. See what I mean? See what I mean? We got all these new members. We got these new super chats. Did I miss any more? I might have missed some. I did get Law Talkers. I want to thank Law Talkers, always here as well, giving the super chats. This is awesome to see tonight. I feel good. Let's play a little more of this select board. Then we're going to talk about this Adam Deitch, Greg Connor, Juna Perkins. There's been a lot of talk about this election. We're going to talk about this DA's race and who I think is actually leading it.
Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll go on the first agenda item, which is continuing public hearing on the Water and Sewer Rate Policy Committee and their consent.
I guess that's it for us. I mean, unless they don't bring the chief up or anything, right? I don't see the chief today.
Let me just say
Yeah, I
this.
think we're
Right,
done.
the Select Board will hold its next meeting on Monday,
All right, we're done. The chief did give an interview with Canton Community Television. May end up playing that on the channel. I saw Brian was playing that last night. I know a lot of people probably saw it there. But what I want to do right now is go to this Norfolk County District Attorney DA Candidates Forum that the BC School of Law held at the Rappaport Center. I know a lot of people have already seen this, but a lot of people haven't, including myself. And there's basically 4 candidates here. From left to right, you have Juna Perkins, who's been on the show on the Young Jerks a lot of times. She's also been on the Grace Curley, the Howie Carr show. And then you have next to her, one person over is Jim Barracat, and he's also been on the show, the Young Jerks. He's a good guy, a public defender. I like Jim Barracat a lot. I think he's a good guy. Definitely wouldn't mind having him as DA. Juna Perkins, I obviously like as well. And then the next one over is a new candidate named Macy Lee. Apparently, she was from Suffolk District Attorney's Office, very similar to Juna Perkins, being from Suffolk District Attorney's Office. But I've heard some things not so good about Macy. I don't know a lot about her. Just some kind of scuttlebutt, behind the scenes. I don't know how factual it is. Maybe we'll look into it a little more. But she, to me, is a latecomer. I'm not sure she's going to have as much influence on the race as the next person over, who's Adam Deitch, and he's the former U.S. attorney. He's not the former assistant U.S. attorney, I should say, I believe is his real title. But he was with the U.S. attorney's office. He was a prosecutor with the feds. He was involved in the Sandra Birchmore prosecution. And I honestly think the top three candidates are Juna Perkins, first place, I believe. I believe she is the front runner. And the reason I say that is the number of campaign donations she has from the district. Leads it by far. She is the number one campaign fundraiser by number of donations from the district. And second place, newly, is Greg Connor. He's not at this forum, but he's the guy that Morrissey's backing. And in third place, he was in second place, but now Greg Connor, I believe, has surpassed him, is Adam Deitch. And I think the question is Adam Deitch going to actually catch fire? He has a lot of free Karen support. Anytime I note that I think Juna Perkins is a stronger supporter, Adam Deitch people go crazy on me. They get very mad at me. They think I'm backing Juna Perkins. I don't care. Like I said from the beginning, I don't care if it's Juna Perkins or Adam Deitch. I just don't want to see Morrissey's guy win. So what I'm trying to do is be as honest as I can be about who I think is actually winning the race right now. And based on two things that we can see. Local endorsements, Juna Perkins is in first place. Number of campaign donations from the district, Juna Perkins is in first place. I mean, that's to me shows that she's still leading. Now, could that change? Absolutely. We have some campaign financing coming up, some campaign reporting on the donations. This quarter, I think, is going to tell us a lot. If you start to see momentum shift from Adam Deitch, if you see him picking up a lot more in district donations, then I think, things could quickly shift. You've already seen that with Greg Connor. His numbers went up. And Deitch's numbers went up when he first announced, but he's kind of, I think, starting to roll back a little bit. So the question is going to be really the next 2 quarters. Like, how much money do these folks raise? It's going to be, I think, the next, we're going to see what happens here going forward. And definitely Adam Deitch could still win. So can Greg Connor. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Connor winning the race. But if I had to bet, I bet Juna Perkins wins this election. And I think it's funny because I'm seeing people say Juna Perkins needs to drop out of the race so that Adam Deitch can beat Greg Connor. And I think that Adam Deitch won't do as well as you think in a head race with Connor. I think that a lot of the Juna people would actually go to Connor over Deitch. I do. So I'm just going to report what I see happening. Whether people get mad at it or not, it's just, it's not my fault. And people like, so one person said, Mike, this is why Mike Crawford is dangerous. He's supporting Juna Perkins and he's going to cost. It's like, I haven't backed anyone. I'm just telling you what I see going on in the race. I've asked all of these folks onto the show. Some of them come on, some of them don't. But, if you think someone like me, who only has, 50 people in the chat right now, is going to decide the election in Norfolk County, you're kind of insane. You're not paying attention, like, honestly. Like, there's not going to be any YouTuber who's going to decide this race. Even people with much bigger, larger number of viewers than me. This race is going to be decided by these campaigns. It's going to be decided by Juna Perkins. It's going to be decided by Greg Connor. It's going to be decided by Adam Deitch and what their, relationship is with the voters in the district. And who can reach those voters? Who can convince those voters? And so far, Perkins is actually winning, which is surprising because she's not she is not like the best number one campaigner. But what she's winning at is getting out there and doing it. She started earlier. She's been more consistent. She's shook all the hands. She people like her, especially from within the district. Now, can Adam Deitch turn it around? Definitely possible. He is a very good public speaker. I think he's a better public speaker, a better debater than her. That's why I think he should be in front of the camera as much as possible. And that's why it's kind of surprising to me he's not. So we'll see. Let's play the tape. Let's see how they do. I expect to like Deitch in this and Perkins. I have a feeling they both do well. I haven't watched it. Let's see how this goes down today.
Enforce that to the extent that we can. Expectations that we have, both candidates and the audience and myself, is that we are fostering constructive, respectful dialogue about these issues here today. The answers should address the questions generally, not other candidates. There shouldn't be interruptions or questions posed between the candidates to one another. From the audience, we ask you, as Professor McCoy said, silence all of your cell phones. We ask you to not react within the moment to the answers that are given, and to be here with us, enjoying silently and respectfully the very important answers that we're going to have from the candidates. And finally, from me, you've entrusted me a lifelong public.
We'll say one thing. It's funny people are asking Deitch Perkins to drop out of the race to help Adam Deitch. It's like, why would the person that thinks they're leading the election, who has the most endorsements, who has the most donors from the district, drop out? If you're in first place, you don't drop out unless there's a scandal about you. She's in first place. She's not going to drop out, and she knows it. And when I interviewed her about Adam Deitch and Greg Conner, she indicated that she felt like Greg Conner was more her competition. That Deitch was basically a third place candidate. And the more and more I'm looking at it, right now, if I had to rank them, first place, if the election were today, this is what I would expect to happen. Deitch Perkins wins the election, Greg Conner second, Adam Deitch third. Now, the election is actually in September. The general election is November, but this is a state Democratic primary, and that's why it's a low voter turnout election, where the people who are town officials and town selectmen, those are the people that vote. Their family members vote. Most of them that have endorsed candidates, they're endorsing Deitch Perkins. That's why I think she's the front runner. Until I see a poll. There have been no polls presented. Definitely going to play this, but there were a few questions and comments I want to answer first. Carrie said, Mike, the clip you posted on X today about Nantucket was wild. I know. I didn't even know really what that was about the police dispatcher. I'm going to have to look into that. There's so much stuff to cover. It's hard to keep up. I apologize to some of the folks that have been sending me stories too that they want me to cover, especially in my emails. I haven't even read some of them. There's just so much to look at and cover. It's tough being one person to even figure out what to cover and what not to cover. But that was wild. There's something going on down there in Nantucket, definitely. I want to find out more about that. Thank you, Carrie, for noticing. Original Jola has a good question. It says, Mike, do you live in a community that is served by the MBTA? Yes, I do. In a weird way, too. It's funny, too, because there's been some issues in a lot of these towns with the MBTA acts and the housing. And yes, yeah, definitely do. Yeah, I'm in one of those towns that's getting fined. Let's just put it that way. You probably know what I'm talking about. Other people may not who live out of state. This is another interesting one. Big endorsement means she has handlers. Not good. Well, that's the thing, Queen of the Pool. You assume that they're big endorsements, but they're not. And the big endorsements, I don't think actually matter as much anymore. I don't think endorsements matter as much anymore, period. But if they ever matter at all, they matter in a Democratic primary. That when you have the election in September, and who's endorsing, it's not big endorsements. These are town select people. These are the dog catchers. These are the planning board members. These are the, the local firefighters. That's who's endorsing her. It's people that are known in the community, the do-gooders, the people that have good reputations in their local towns. That's who's been endorsing her. She does have a couple big endorsements. Basically people she used to work for at Suffolk County when she was with the DA's office. Ralph Martin, former DA, being one of them. But I don't think his big endorsement matters as much, except for maybe that he trusts her, her competence to do the job. But I think the ones that matter more are like Susan Harrington, Canton Select Board member. She's basically endorsed Juna Perkins' appearance. Trish, I believe, has endorsed. I'm not sure on all these, but I think those types of people, that's what matters. Those endorsements do matter. So it's those kind of small town endorsements. And he has more of them. She has more of them. And I expect that Connor is actually probably going to get some of those because he's a familiar face to people. I mean, that's what it is a lot of times. Who do they know matters. You know, and they've gotten to know Juno over the last year because she's shown up at so many meetings. And I think, like this commenter says, Connor has the most familiar face to the voters. So people already know him. Some people. He's lived in the community, especially Quincy area. So that's the thing that's going for these other two campaigns that I think Adam doesn't have. That's why he has to work 3 times as hard. So, you want me to show the donations from the tweet? I could, but it just basically, Juna's got twice as many donations. I mean, that's it. She got twice as many donors as Adam Deitch. And that says a lot. 2 to 1. Yeah, that's a tweet. If you want to look it up on the Young Jerks, you can see the tweet about the donors. All right, let's just play more of this video.
Defender to be here. So my commitment to you is some interjections, perhaps I have questions, but no cross-examination. And in a show of good faith, I've even scrapped the first question I was going to ask you, which is, you want to be the district attorney in Norfolk County, don't you? Yes or no? Scrap that question. It was inappropriate both in form and in tone. So with that, we will get into the questions and we will start. I'm going to pass you, Attorney Perkins, the hat. But before we get into it, I just want to give one big round of applause to begin for Before we get into the questions themselves, I want to provide each of you an opportunity, 90 seconds, for an introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Juna Perkins, and I'm running for district attorney because Norfolk County's justice system is failing. And because while
This is Juna Perkins here. This is a great comment, Rose. And this might explain why Juna Perkins is getting so much support from those town select board members and the local residents that matter, and why she's getting so many donations from the district. Because you noticed this, and Rose, it reminds me of my experience with Juna too. Rose says, I like Juna because she's extremely responsive. I don't know Adam Deitch. And that's the thing I'll say about these two campaigns, the two candidates. Juna is extreme. That's my experience too. She responds. I asked her to come on the show. She says, can we do Wednesday? Can we do Wednesday at 6? Let's do it. Done. Boom. She's there. She's responsive. She shows up. It's easy. Adam Deitch, not very responsive. I mean, that's what I said. Like, it's funny that people think that I'm going to decide the campaign. Like, that is crazy talk. Someone said, that's why Mike Crawford is dangerous. It's not, this campaign's not going to be decided by me. It's going to be decided by things like this that Rose is pointing out. Who was most responsive to the voters in Norfolk County? That matters to a lot of these voters. And these are the things that you don't see on social media. And I think that's why June is getting a good response. I do. We'll see.
my name may be silent, I am not. For 33 years, I've fought for justice for victims of crime all over Massachusetts, first as an assistant attorney general, then as a Suffolk County assistant district attorney in which I held leadership roles, and finally in private practice.
Yes, I mean, on John O'Keefe, her clear position has been that Michael Morrissey screwed it up by the way he charged the case. He should have charged the case if you can't get a conviction, and then screwed up, and nobody will probably ever get charged for it because of that. That's her stance on Karen Reed. She's definitely willing and expecting to look into it when she's DA. She expects to investigate everything. In the case of Sandra Birchmore, she has stated, Juna Perkins has stated that she plans to prosecute for the death of Sandra Birchmore. So that's where she is. She has taken a clear position on all of it, very clearly, for the longest time. and was the first to do so publicly and clearly. Everybody else that spoke on those two issues came after her. So she was the first one to call for Michael Morrissey's resignation as a candidate. She was the first one to say that she wanted to look into Sandra Roachmore and press charges. So she has made very clear positions on those. I would, you know, if you want to know more, just go back and watch the interviews we did with her. She's very clear about it.
The district attorney has absolute power to determine what to prosecute, and the decisions that she makes can change a family's life forever. Recently, our justice system has been brought to its knees by the misuse of that authority. I didn't wait till it was politically expedient to run. I stepped up nearly 2 years ago because I became a lawyer to stand up for what's right, to speak for those without a voice, and because we're living in times where we all must do our part to stand up for due process and the rule of law. I believe that that everyone deserves justice and that no one is above the law, regardless of who we are, where we're from, or who we know. The next district attorney to restore the community's trust and to end justice in Norfolk County needs to not only be someone who is a professional prosecutor, but also someone who can bring fresh perspectives and ideas. And as well as someone who can bring, as well as someone who is not only committed to the rule of law, but also has the courage to stand up even when it's hard. I believe that because of my personal and professional experience and the endorsements I've received from industry professionals, elected leaders, and community leaders, I am that candidate. And I ask for your vote on September 1st.
I'm glad she brought up that she was the first to announce 2 years ago. And that she had the guts to do that. Like when a lot of other people weren't ready to do that. You know, a lot of people penalize her now for being the first to run. They're like, discount it. Like it was like, that's why she's doing well, because she started early. It's like, you don't give her any credit for starting early? I do. She got in the race when nobody else would. And she was saying these things first. She said, Michael Morrissey needs to resign first before anyone else.
Thank you. Next, Attorney Barakat.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Hi, guys. Jim Barakat. I've been a public defender for the last 14 years. Currently in Massachusetts, we incarcerate more individuals than the entire continent of Europe. And it's always interesting to ask why, because when studies show that incarceration does absolutely nothing to reduce.
I love Jim Barakat. He's great. He's phenomenal. A good guy. He's the one speaking now. What do you know, Queen of the Pool? Everything you asked me, she's already done. Let's. I'm glad you asked this question. It's a good question. Will she remove the Mass State Police out of their offices? Not only will she do it, this is what actually happened. Deitch Perkins came on our show and stated that once she was in office, she planned to clean house of the entire group of Mass State Police out of the DA's office. She was going to remove them. She was the first to say that. She said it on our show. She said exactly what you're asking for. She said it on our show. Within a week of her making that statement, this is why I have to respect Deitch Perkins, is because she's already made a difference. Within a week of saying that statement on my show, Colonel Noble and D.A. Morrissey said that they were sweeping them all out. It was like, we can't let this woman continue to run on that. We can't let her go around and tell everyone what she's going to do when she's in office. Let's just do it now. Let's just get rid of these folks now, so she can't continue to go on shows and say that. So not only did she say it, she said it first, and she made it the de facto policy because she forced Morrissey to do just that. And she wants to clean house completely. I don't know how far Morrissey actually went with all that. I don't think he went as far as she's going to go. She's going to clean house completely. Remember, I asked her, because I said, Bettero said fumigate the office. And she's like, I want to go further than that. Like, she was like, that's not enough. We have to get rid of everybody.
Recidivism And in fact, it actually increases
So, yeah.
recidivism.
Yeah.
Ostensibly, the DA likes to talk about that they care about public safety, but does little to combat recidivism themselves. Incarceration also does nothing to rehabilitate, and data-driven prosecution and supporting communities is actually what lowers crime rates in communities that are experiencing higher crime. Now, every day as a defender, I'm faced with the collateral consequences of prosecutorial decision making, and I stand in solidarity with clients against systems that hide information, systems that conceal misconduct, and value efficiency in prosecutions over the hard work of taking the time to make sure they get things right. Now, my approach,
Oh, this is a good question, actually. You know what? I'm not sure about this original Jola, because now I've had conversations with like Jim Barakat and Juna Perkins about this exact subject, whether the Mass State Police should even be allowed to be enmeshed like this. And maybe there are some ways to do it better. I think both of them are open to this idea, but the question is what replaces them? And maybe private investigators that just respond to the DA's office, but that has issues too. So, yeah, I mean, this is a big structural issue, and I don't know what the answer is, honestly, especially on a DA level. Like, I feel like it has to be done on a statewide level. But I think Juna Perkins, I think Jim Barakat, and I think Adam Deitch would all consider this. All three of those candidates, to me, all three of them are the ones that you're going to see that want the most reform. Whether it's Jim Barakat, who's speaking right here, the public defender, Juna Perkins, or Adam Deitch, I think they're all going to consider this stuff. Whether they really want the state police to mesh with their DA's office, and how could that work better, and how could that be less problematic, or if it even needs to happen anymore, right? So these are good questions. These are some of the discussions I had with Juna Perkins and Jim Barakat, actually, when they both came on the show. I never had that discussion with Adam Deitch because he hasn't come on the show. I would love to have it, though. I'm pretty sure I know where he stands on it, though.
my hope is that we include an approach that's more humane, not just for our members of our community, but for Norfolk County. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Lee?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Macy Lee, and I'm also a candidate for Norfolk County District Attorney. I am the only candidate that will be on the ballot on September 1st that will have the proven combination of extensive leadership, management, and state prosecutorial experience. I'm currently the director for the Board of Hearings, Office of Medicaid, one of the largest and busiest adjudicatory boards in Massachusetts. I manage a staff of close to 60, and that includes some BC law interns that come.
Oh, look, look at this, Macy Lee. She's rubbing it on. This is a BC law event, and she's mentioning she's got some BC ties. It's funny. We are exactly 4 months away. Right now, it's May 1st. 4 months from now is the election. It's September 1st. Today's May 1st, September 1st. I said 4 months. 4 months. Let's count. June, July, August, September. 4 months. 4 months away. 4 months, and we'll have a new DA, basically. It won't, the general election will really decide it, but whoever wins this Democratic primary in September in Norfolk County for DA is going to be the DA. We know this. This is how it works in Norfolk County. I'm just reading a couple of your comments, trying to catch up right now. Somebody was mentioning one of the other YouTubers. I don't want to talk about them right now. Maybe later on. We're gonna do this first.
In and out throughout the year.
I'm gonna jump out for a minute. I'll be right back. I just want to check on Charlie. He's alone right now, so I will be back. I want to hear what Adam has to say.
And I oversee close to 30,000 appeals from members, providers, and any sort of nursing home facility discharge that comes your way. So I have the experience of working with unions. I have the experience of hiring and even to some extent disciplining employees and ensuring that the office that I run now adheres to the highest professional standards. I also ensure transparency in my office. Every decision in the last 4 years that has been issued by the Board of Hearings is posted on our website. So anyone who is curious with how we handle mass health adverse action decisions, you can find out on the website. I was also the chief of the narcotics unit for 10 years at Suffolk County, where I managed large-scale wiretap investigations involving federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. I can manage people, I can run an office, and I've proven that in the last 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Deitch.
Thank you so much. And thank you to BC and the Rappaport Center for having us. It's really nice to be here talking with you all. It's nice to be at BC Law, where I was waitlisted twice when I was applying to law school. I'm not going to hold that against anybody in the room. My name is Adam Deitch, and I too am running for Norfolk County District Attorney. Until this past November, I was a federal prosecutor, an assistant U.S. attorney in Boston. And I started out there doing all kinds of cases, everything from gun and drug cases to child exploitation and cyber stalking to all kinds of fraud. But what I ended up spending most of my time doing was trying to root out corruption across Massachusetts, including and especially in Norfolk County. I prosecuted state troopers for accepting bribes in exchange for commercial driver's licenses. I prosecuted employees of the RMV for accepting bribes in exchange for regular driver's licenses. And in the end, I saw a drumbeat of cases in Norfolk County that made me say out loud, literally, what on earth is going on in Norfolk County? So I left the U.S. Attorney's Office in November and launched this campaign because I believe what this DA's office needs is wholesale systemic change, a change in perspective and a change in leadership. So I look forward to the conversation with you all today. Thank you again so much for having us.
Thank you very much. So we will pass the hat now and begin with Attorney Barakat for the first of the prepared questions. And that question is, what are the skills, characteristics, or values that make you the most qualified candidate to be the district attorney in Norfolk County?
Sure, thanks again, Steve. So quite like in my introduction, I've spent almost every day in the courtroom seeing the collateral consequences that occur when prosecutors both overcharge and overzealously try to seek incarceration that is disproportionate to, the crime that's charged. I think what would make me most qualified is that seeing from that perspective and knowing what it takes to make a case stick as far as sufficiency of evidence, as far as matters of indictment. We're stuck in this kind of cycle where we want to see a harm being reduced, but we're doing nothing to see that harm being reduced. I think in a way to objectively see, the person, maybe the defendant, whom we're charging as the person that they actually are in making our decisions to, maybe eventually incarcerate this person or to decide what kind of options we might have to divert that prosecution in general, or I got thrown off by the time here, or to I'm going to pass the hat on. I think that's time to go. Thanks.
You're going to get the last word as well, so you'll have a
okay,
chance
thanks.
to come back as well.
Am I next?
Yes, Attorney Wood.
This is interesting so far. I will say, just my initial hearing every single candidate here of the four candidates before us, who is by far the best speaker of the four. I think we all agree that he has a JFK aspect to him. He's very good speaker. Adam Deitch, by far, is the best communicator of these four. By far. I'd say number one is Adam Deitch. I'd say Barakat or Judah Perkins tied for maybe second. And then Lacey, I would say is, trailing. I'll say that. But I think by far the standout, best communicator of the four is Adam Deitch. He just, when he spoke, he was so clear, very impressive, has a very impressive track record. And that's what, if I were his campaign, I would encourage him to be recording video 24/7 of him speaking and posting video like daily, going to forums, speaking, getting someone to record it. And I think that he should do some video with some of these people who have endorsed him, from Sandra Birchworth's family, if that's possible, or Karen Reed. Can you imagine some of the video he could do with them? Maybe a press conference? Because I feel like he is the third place campaign right now, but he could vault ahead. Like, just if enough people get exposed to his campaign and him speaking, put him in front of people, I feel like he could actually win. But for whatever reason, I don't feel like it's actually translating. I think he had a good kickoff. I think the video he put out, that kickoff video, vaulted him into second place, maybe a tie for first with Juna. But I feel like since then, he's kind of faded. And he's starting to get out there in the community and do some of these in-person events. If he is converting people, and the donations do start coming in from the district, I think that's going to be a really good sign for his campaign. We'll see. But by far, he is the best communicator, the best speaker of the bunch. That's clear as day to me. I think we could all agree on that.
I think the skills, qualifications, and experience of the next district attorney should include some of the things I mentioned in my opening statement. But I also think it should include someone who has a multiple level of skill sets acquired from a diverse background and experience. For example, as I mentioned earlier, I am well versed in managing large-scale public-facing organizations, such as the organization in Mass Health. I also think that the next district attorney should have a proven record of integrity, accountability, and transparency. And I've demonstrated that as the director of the Board of Hearings and as well as the chief of the narcotics unit when I was at Suffolk County. I think that the next district attorney should be a good boss, should be someone who works just as hard as her staff, should lead with a steady and mature hand, and should also hold the highest standards for herself. And in my experience, when someone does that, your staff will follow, as my staff now does. I also think that not only is prosecutorial experience essential, but I also think having had the experience of being a defense attorney, of which I had for a year, is also really important, because it shows you when you have a client and you have to look that client in the eye and you're your client's lifeline. And you're the only person that can advocate for your client. And that changed me a lot when I became a prosecutor later on in Boston. So that's what I think should happen.
Thank you.
So I think we're in a very unique moment with respect to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. We've had a series of cases over the past few years that have exposed problems in the office that have caused, I think, all four of us to be up here today. And the problems are partially the cause of they're related to an office that has been run by someone who doesn't have prosecutorial experience. And so I agree with my fellow candidates up here that and criminal law experience is a prerequisite, but we need so much more than that. We're going to need a district attorney to thread a series of needles here, to lead an office of folks who for the most part have dedicated their careers to public service, who for the most part are going into work every day and working hard when they could be getting paid a lot more to do something else. The person's going to need to go in and identify what works and embrace those things, while also identifying what isn't working and be prepared and have the courage to make real change. And so I think someone with an outside perspective, who's been a prosecutor in perhaps the most professionally run prosecutor's office in at least New England, can go in with a plan to make Norfolk County a place where we recruit and retain the best prosecutors in the state, where we've restored confidence and integrity in the office, and it can be a district attorney's office that the residents of the county can be proud of.
Attorney Bearcat, 60 seconds if you'd like for the last word. Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm so hat focused on the last word. I apologize. Attorney Perkins, you are next. You have 100 seconds.
I'll take them. So, as I said earlier, I have 33 years of experience working with crime victims, and I've held several supervisory roles, both as a chief of the domestic violence unit in Suffolk County, as the supervisor of Dorchester District Court, and I've built my own practice. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people from all different walks of life. I think that those skills are incredibly important. But another one is that I have been a teacher. I have been a coach for high school students and college students. I've also my practice focuses on investigating sexual misconduct and discrimination in schools and workplaces, and that experience has given me a wealth of knowledge about how.
This is the other thing I like about Perkins. She's got a lot of experience in investigating sexual assaults and investigations, period. I mean, she is hired by a lot of towns and cities to look in as a third party into sexual assaults with public officials and teachers and things like that. So she's got a lot of experience in what I feel like is a big issue in Norfolk County, is investigations and looking into things that are touchy subjects where people in power don't want you to look into. So I think that's one thing she has going for her. Deitch is obviously the best speaker by far. There was a comment from Queen of the Pool. She's had a lot of good comments tonight, a lot of good questions. She said, if he has limited money, it's best to save his appearance closer to election day. No. Well, I think the limited money aspect, I don't think he actually has limited money. The thing about Deitch's campaign is that he has raised a good amount of money compared to Deitch Perkins and Greg Conner. The place that he doesn't measure up is number of campaign donations from the district. A lot of his money, he's gotten some big donations, a lot of big donations from outside the district, from people like Alan Jackson, I believe, contributed, and Karen Reed and Bill Reed and other U.S. prosecutors. So he has actually a good amount of money in his campaign chest. It's just not from a lot of voters. That's just a big indicator if you're doing well in a district running for office, if you have a lot of donors from your voters, from people who are going to vote. So I don't think it's a money issue. I think he's got time. Like I said, 4 months, anything can happen. This is me when I'm speaking about what I think is happening in the race. That's a snapshot of what's happening right now, today. 4 months from now, this could be a different race. Maybe Deitch picks up steam and he becomes the overwhelming front runner, or Greg Conner. It could happen. I mean, this race could definitely change. And I think what's going to really give us an indication of where this is going is this next batch of campaign reports to see if Deitch getting out there in the community, because he really wasn't doing these community events like he is now. And now he's doing these community events. Is he picking up the campaign donations from the district? It's possible. I don't know. We won't know until we see those next batch of contributions. And even better, if we actually got a poll, it would be nice to see if anybody is doing any polling and they publicly release it. Sometimes the campaigns do their own internal polling. And if it's good, they might want it shared. But if it's not good for them, they might want to not share it with the public. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these third parties like Suffolk Law School or anybody else does any polling on this, because I'd like to see who's actually leading in the polls. But otherwise, we just have to go with what we know.
Other systems resolve the same sorts of issues. Similarly, civil litigation. I spent a long time doing that, but still working in the same field. I'm the only candidate in this race with significant experience working with victims of crime, of the most terrible crimes you can imagine. I think all of that is important. I also think that leadership starts from the top. In my current practice, one thing I do often is give advice, give recommendations to high-level leadership at major schools and universities. And I teach them how to make their workplaces more friendly, more constructive, more collaborative, and to set the tone from the top that we really need. And finally, I have significant life experience that is relevant. I know from my own childhood experience that not everyone is dealt the same deck of cards. And I know what injustice feels like. And all those things will inform my supervision of the DA's office.
Thank you. And now the last word.
Sure, and I think a part of it might be a more humane approach to prosecution. Prosecutors are not accepted to this, but prosecutors and defense attorneys don't like to see their, a defendant released and commit another crime and then be reincarcerated. Now, it's a system that doesn't work. So my vision, I guess, for the office too would be part of how do we reduce the recidivism so public safety generally is lower. It's higher public safety, but lower rates of crime versus just throw the book at them, incarcerate, do it again, and gotta do something to break that cycle. And I think a lot of what I can speak to and what my experience has been is how we can achieve that with what we get. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll start now with Attorney Lee for our next question.
Okay.
A lot of you have mentioned
They pass around this BC law hat. It's so funny. This is so strange. I saw LaFerrio, Nan Gallagher, is in the chat tonight. She's got a lot of shit online. I saw some people loving that Nan Gallagher was in the chat tonight. We also had Rita Lombardi in the chat tonight, which is nice to see. But if you have love for Nan Gallagher, and especially if you want to see Nan Gallagher back on the Young Jerk soon, put a 1 in the chat for Attorney Nan Gallagher this week. Show her some support. And again, I want to thank all the super chats that came in tonight. Keith and Rita Lombardi. I mean, oh my God. Simon, Law Talkers, Sue B. Doobie. I love that one. Thank you. The Rando supporter stepping up. That was huge. And we have to thank the War Room for inspiring all of these super chatters tonight. Natalie threw $49 down. Big match from Natalie. Thank you so much, Natalie. She's one of our moderators over here. Rose as well. Rose kicked in. I think she got it started. Rose got it started tonight. This is amazing to see. And then, like I said, we had some Venmos come in. I want to thank the War Room for clocking our lack of super chats last week because we didn't do a show. So everyone wanted to kick in and support us today. Thank you so much. It's making a difference. And I see all the ones up in the chat for Nan Gallagher right now. A lot of love for Nan. She's a great guest. Always have a good show. It's funny too because one of these little tiny shows that can't even get any traction going with the full cult support was talking about how nobody will watch when Nan comes on the show, and I pointed out that the last show Nan came on, we had over 7,000 viewers on that show. And her most recent show had like 300. Like it's so funny. It's like they could never do what Nan and I are doing, or Brian and Nan do together, without the cult support, because they're not compelling. People actually like to watch Nan Gallagher. They love to watch her. She does bring the numbers. That's why they attack her so much. They don't want to see her support and help our shows. They know every time she comes on my show, my numbers go up. What's Nan going to say now? That's what people want to watch on all sides. People that love and hate Nan. And there's a lot of people that love Nan. I love Nan. Yeah, I want like this. This is a lot of talk. It says I watch any show Nan is on. I do too. That's the thing. If Nan's on somewhere, I'm going to go watch. I do. If I have a minute. I love all the support for Nan. Go Nan. Go LaFerrio. Now, don't come at me about everything she says. I don't know every detail. I'm not backing up anybody's words, and I don't do that. I don't regulate what people try to say, and I like Nan. I support Nan, and she's a great guest on the Young
priorities that you would have and characteristics that you would bring to this work. And I'm going to ask you now a question specific to the Norfolk County DA's office today. What about that office today would you seek to strengthen, and what would you seek to change about that office?
A lot. One of the things that I intend to do, should I be elected, is to go in and study the structural organization of the office and see where there is a need of supervisory oversight. And from what I understand, the office now, which consists of approximately 140 staff members, there needs to be a significant overhaul and restructuring of that office. I don't know if there's someone who is handling public records requests. My understanding is that the office is not timely in responding to FOIA requests, and there's a statutory requirement. So there needs to be a public records officer. There needs to be training, a chief of training in that office to train everyone, not just new assistant district attorneys, but consistent and continuing training. I don't know if there's a chief of the district courts. There definitely needs to be one because the district courts is the first level, the first entry level for a lot of crimes. And a lot of those crimes can be resolved easily through diversion, through treatment. And there's also a lot of young assistant district attorneys who start out in district court, and they need to be properly trained so that they can properly manage law enforcement officers with whom they work. There also needs to be a budget study in that office as well. There also needs to be a complete overhaul in leadership so that charging decisions are properly made and not flawed like we've seen in the last few years. Those would be the initial changes that I see.
Funny you ask, what's the purpose of that account? The Turtle Boy War Room account, which is funny is their purpose, it seemed like this week or today, was to raise me more money in my super chats. Like whoever that Turtle Boy War account is, I want to thank them for helping us get more Venmos tonight. First time in a while we had some good Venmos coming in. That's amazing. And we also had more super chats tonight. So I want to thank them for noting that, people hadn't been giving me donations last week because I hadn't done any shows. And this is my first show back in a week. And people have stepped up. So I think that was their purpose this week, to help the young jerks. Thank you so much. I think they found their purpose. Maybe they should just promote my show every single day. That would be helpful.
That needs to be made in the office.
Thank you.
I think with just 90 seconds, I will focus on one thing and my number one priority upon taking office in January. I think after transitioning to a leadership role in the office, the first priority of my administration would be to identify every single case where there are victims and survivors and families who do not have answers and do not feel like they've received justice, and evaluate each one of those cases, task assistant district attorneys and staff to find those answers and to provide them to those victims, survivors, and families. Part of my accountability agenda, I have a comprehensive policy platform here, and was the first candidate in the race to come forward with any kind of detailed policy. Part of it is creating a real conviction integrity unit, creating a cold case unit, and ensuring that this district attorney's office is not going to be one where Sandra Birchmore's family is still looking for answers and where Sandra Birchmore is still listed on a death certificate as having committed suicide. It's not going to be a district attorney's office where John O'Keefe's family either doesn't know or hasn't gotten an answer from the DA's office for what happened. Or if the DA's office has utterly failed to provide justice, it needs to revisit that case and figure out what happened and have a dialogue with John O'Keefe's family about what the facts actually are.
Thank you. Attorney Perkins.
Thank you. So one of the things I think that the current district attorney's office has, which I'm hearing from voters all over the place, is that the district attorney has done a very good job with drug cases and in diversion programs. I think that I would enhance and strengthen those. There's one drug court in Norfolk County, and I would support having more. I think in terms of challenges, I think we all know what many of those are. The first thing I would do is
Yes, the medical examiner just in the last couple of days changed it to undetermined for Sandra Birchmore. That happened after this debate. This debate was actually about a week ago. Again, that's how long ago I did a live show. I haven't done a live show in about a week, and that's around when this debate, this forum happened. So it's been changed to undetermined since then. Adam Deitch, again, gave a great response talking about Sandra Birchmore and John O'Keefe. If I were him, I'd be bringing up those names over and over and over again. Put a video a day out about them. Do a video every day on Sandra. I think that's how you win the election. I do. If you're the guy that everyone knows about Sandra Birchmore and Karen Reed, beyond the Free Karen Reed community, I mean, you have that within Free Karen Reed, but you have to get that with the voters of Norfolk County, the larger population that doesn't know about these things. A lot of them don't even know about Sandra Birchmore, never mind Karen Reed, right? So he needs to be that guy. I think he does a good job when he speaks. He is a phenomenal speaker. I get why people like him so much. You know, his experience, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself. He's got this almost like JFK thing going on. Like, it reminds me of John F. Kennedy.
Is to audit the office in terms of supervision, what trainings are done, prosecution policies and protocols. I'd review decisions in significant cases, including the Sandra Birchmore case.
I want to thank Mary. I got your message this week. I appreciate that you were missing me. You were missing our show this week. Thank you so much for being a Facebook viewer, Facebook supporter. We have quite a few people on Facebook who support and watch as well. I want to thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Much appreciated. Love it. Welcome to the Jerks tonight.
And I would also collect feedback from staff members throughout the office, and I would also want to interview them when I first came in. I'd also be drafting a written conflict of interest policy and a policy on duty to report police misconduct and disclose exculpatory evidence. I would not accept campaign contributions from staff or police unions, and I'd publish officer-involved shooting reports and case dispositions on the website.
This is what I love right here. Again, Deitch and Perkins led on this. Adam Deitch has already pledged to do the same thing. No donations from employees of the district attorney's office. Currently, Michael Morrissey has taken donations from people like Adam Lally. That's outrageous. You should not be giving campaign donations to your employer. Deitch and Perkins just stated again, she's not going to take those donations from employees. Adam Deitch has done the same thing. I want to know where Greg Conner stands on that. If anyone gets a chance to interview Greg Conner, that's got to be one of your first questions. Do you support, will you continue what Michael Morrissey has done, taking donations from campaign staff? Did you give a donation, Greg Conner, to Michael Morrissey? We should look that up. Has Greg Conner ever given Michael Morrissey a donation? And does he think that's ethical? Does he think that Michael Morrissey was wrong? That needs to come up against Greg Conner. He needs to answer that question. Does he support his boss on that? Will he continue to do what his boss has been doing, which is collecting donations from employees, which is so unethical? It should be illegal. It should be illegal, but it's not for some reason. It's kind of the standard operating procedure in Mass, but some candidates don't do it. This is one of the reasons I used to love Quentin I'm going to say his name wrong. Xander, Quentin. We'll just call him Quentin from Cambridge. He even went beyond employees. He wouldn't even take money from anybody that had business that could come before the city council in Cambridge. So if you were like the Middle East Rock Club and you have a license before the Cambridge board, he wouldn't even take money from them. Like, he would take money from nobody. That's the way it should be. You shouldn't take money from people that you're ruling over.
I'd also do a lot more collaboration with community organizations. I think we can do a lot more work in in developing programs that prevent crime and recidivism.
Thank you. Attorney Derek.
Sure. For me, it would be twofold. One, I think you need to continually prosecute aggressively the violent offense cases that they have. It's my understanding they've been doing a fairly okay job doing that. I would enhance that, but the second fold would be to rebuild the public trust. I think after certainly Sandra Birchmore, Karen Reed debacle, and what happened to Justin Root, that there's a humongous problem with investigations at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. To combat those changes, some of the changes I would implement would be reviewing any charges that have a minimum mandatory sentence, seeing what can be broken down, if anything, and checking out the facts the way not just police might interpret them, but how the district attorney's office might interpret them. Secondly, I would implement open discovery for defense attorneys to be able to get any and all information that the prosecutor's office has. I don't think anyone should go to trial or plea when they don't have all the information before them or be sandbagged with something, the day of trial, the 12th hour. And I think implementing a do not call list as far as police witnesses go, given a lot of the misconduct that's been coming out with the Massachusetts State Police and some of the communities in Norfolk County.
And for the last word, we'll turn to Attorney Lee. When I first asked you this question about whether you'd keep the same or change, you said a lot. So it's fitting that perhaps you have the 60 seconds to address anything that your colleagues have not so far that you want to see change or strength.
I just want to add, I also would involve the Norfolk County Defense Bar. They have the greatest experience in terms of working with prosecutors and defending their clients with charges. So I would like to get their input and actually hire defense attorneys if they want to join the prosecutor's office to be trainers or chief of the district courts, because again, they have the firsthand knowledge and experience of working with those courts, with those ADAs, and offering a fresh perspective as to how a district attorney's office should be operated.
Thank you. This next question, we're going to go first to Attorney Deitch. You mentioned earlier in your background, you have a history of prosecuting government officials when there's been misconduct. That's a good segue perhaps to this question, because one of the roles that you have as district attorney is not just working with the police, government officials, but sometimes investigating, and perhaps taking action when there's been police misconduct by them, and disclosing that, as we've heard too, to the defense bar, and making sure the public is aware. How would you approach that dual role of both working with the police and holding them accountable?
Thanks for the question. And this is something where I have experience that no other candidate in the race has. I've spent years prosecuting public officials and police officers who are in the small minority of members of law enforcement who break rules and break laws. But I've also had the privilege and honor of investigating those and other cases while standing shoulder to shoulder with members of local and state and federal law enforcement.
This is where he stands out. The public speaking and the experience of prosecuting cops. This is where he needs to win this election, He needs to drive it home if he wants to win. Freeze Frame laughs, says, "You're dangerous, LOL." I know, right? I'm dangerous for covering this. I'm the most dangerous. Nobody watches me, but I'm very dangerous because people might be listening to me. They might be listening to me tell them what I feel about this race. I mean, it's really, it's dangerous. I'm very dangerous. People have lost their friggin' minds online. I swear to God. I'm a very dangerous man. I can walk dogs for a living. How dangerous can I be?
And I see the look on the faces of the good cops when they uncover the conduct of the bad ones. And I think you're right. The question implies that it is another difficult needle to thread. But one key tenet of my policy agenda as district attorney will be to establish a first of its kind anti-corruption task force. There are details on my campaign website, but it will isolate a senior assistant district attorney in the office who will not be prosecuting other cases and will therefore be insulated with respect to investigations and prosecutions of corruption cases. We'll have a dedicated hotline where members of the public can call in with allegations of potential public corruption. And I think there's a way to thread that needle where we can effectively send a message to the people of Norfolk County: corruption is not tolerated here.
Thank you very much. Attorney Perkins, same question to you.
Thank you. Well, the very first experience I had in a prosecutor's office was when I was in law school, when I had an internship at the U.S. Attorney's Office under Ralph Martin, who was then assigned to investigate the conduct of the Boston police in the wake of the Carol Stewart murder. And so that was my first introduction to police misconduct. The following summer,
There we go. Judah Perkins reminds everybody, and Adam Deitch, that he's not the only one that's gone after police and prosecutions. She's also gone after bad cops when she was with Suffolk District DA's office. She was with the Suffolk County DA's office, and she also prosecuted cops. So this is interesting. They're having a little back and forth to a degree.
I spent at the Manhattan DA's office as an intern in the Police Integrity Division. So police corruption is something that I take very seriously, and as an assistant district attorney and assistant attorney general, I also took very seriously. I think that most police officers are doing well and doing a good job, and that the ones who don't, who aren't doing the right thing, undermine the rest of the abilities and the credibility of the rest of them.
Carol Stewart, she's been.
We have to, as lawyers, we are responsible for making sure that all the evidence that's presented to court is good evidence. It is made in good
That
faith.
also shows how long she's been around too. She's been around since Carol Stewart. You know, that's a long. That happened. When did it happen? In the 80s, I think, or maybe 90. I'm trying to remember. That was a long time ago, though. I mean, she's been around for a while. That shows her longevity, her experience. I am going to step out real quick for a second because family just came home. I'm going to check in on what's going on with the fam. But I'll be back.
And we have to be able to hold the line and to confront, to both respect the work of police, but also to call them on their errors when they exist. And we just cannot be afraid to do that. And that's also why someone from outside the office has to be the next district attorney, because the relationships are simply too close after this long.
Thank you. Attorney Bearcat, you mentioned a moment ago that you would institute a do not call list for police officers who were found to engage in serious misconduct. What other measures would you take alongside that initiative as you exercise that dual role of working with and holding police accountable?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I always say I'm not anti-police, I'm anti-bad police, and I would imagine that a lot of police officers, the ones who are out there protecting and serving and doing their job, also feel the same way. But in that same breath, these so-called bad police officers are also entitled to avail themselves to a defense against what might be a false allegation, and and until it can be proven through jurist or something along those lines, internal affairs, that something has gone awry, that they're also entitled not to be labeled bad cop. I certainly would take police misconduct extremely serious, because when the public loses trust in the police, the public also loses trust in the district attorney's office and everything that kind of follows that same line.
Thank you. Attorney Lee, how would you approach that dual role?
Again, I think it goes back to training. I think it's incumbent on assistant district attorneys to be well-trained and be able to identify misconduct when they see it, and to be encouraged to report it. A lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but I can think of a few instances where law enforcement will bring a case where there's insubstantial evidence to go forward with a charge, and wants the charge to go forward. And again, that's on the assistant district attorney to know that there's not enough evidence here to go forward, take it back, either no charge or do more work on it. So that goes with training as well. And it's also the responsibility of the district attorney's office to recognize that. With regards to misconduct, once it's reported or identified and reported, it should be brought to the chief or the police and reported to Post. Post has done a really good job in disciplining police officers and putting them on a list so that we provide it in discovery. And I've had experience before doing that at the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, both identifying misconduct and reporting it as well. So it goes with training, it goes with the encouragement of reporting it, and it's training on both parts, both the assistant district attorney and as well as police officers, knowing what they can and cannot do, what they should and should not be able to do.
Thank you. We'll provide you on this question the last word.
Sure. I think on this topic, and it's an important one, I'll say that for the last 16 years, Michael Morrissey and his leadership team have created and maintained a two-tiered system in Norfolk County. If you know the right people, or you're connected to the right people, you get special treatment in Norfolk County, and that should not be the case. That is a theme in the Sandra Birchmore case, where because a police officer might have been involved, the DA's office utterly failed to conduct any kind of real investigation. It's true in the Karen Reed case, where if there might be witnesses or other members of law enforcement either involved or privy to what happened, a blind eye gets turned by the DA's office. A two-tiered system is not acceptable, and it's not something that will be a part of my district attorney's office.
That's a good segue to this next question. Several of you have brought up the investigations into the death of John O'Keefe and Sandra Birchmore. Several of you have also talked about the concept of public trust and what you do to rebuild public trust where you see it lacking within the Norfolk DA's office. So for this next question, we will go first to Attorney Perkins. What lessons do you take from the investigations of John O'Keefe's death and the death of Sandra Birchmore? And how would you use those experiences to inform your approach to high-profile cases?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the takeaways are that justice really matters. It is a fundamental aspect it is a defining element of a democratic society. And when it goes wrong, it can affect all of us, not just the families involved, but we all are left questioning what our government is doing for us. I mean, if we cannot speak for those most vulnerable among us, we have no government at all. And so, I think that the way that I would handle high-profile cases would be, what you have to do is to be as transparent as you can, as often as you can, because there are those moments when you cannot be transparent because to protect people's privacy or the integrity of an investigation. And so when you can be transparent, you must be, about every single thing, about how you make decisions in general, about how charges are made, how sentencing recommendations are thought about, publishing things like officer-involved shooting reports and criminal dispositions in criminal cases. All of those things, I think, are what will really are the way you have to handle them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to be clear. I think a lot of the corners that were cut in the investigation into Karen Reed happen in every single case I've ever touched my hands on. And the only reason it doesn't get into the public view is because it's never reported on. Most of my clients are not wealthy white women who get taken advantage of the police. A lot of my clients are indigent and people of color, and it's just an unfortunate fact that's happening. And it does upset me. It does make me sick that this does happen. But I think when it does happen on a wide scale, high profile case like it did in the case of Karen Reed, cutting corners, investigations not being completely done. And I know I touched upon it in my introduction about a system that values efficiency over taking the time to get things right. And it does have some real sad consequences, especially for the people who do get convicted based on faulty evidence, faulty investigatory measures. And really it can be tolerated. And I think for it to be highlighted in the way that it had been does go a long way to raising awareness for other cases that the same misconduct and the same things happen in.
Thank you. Attorney Lee, what are the lessons from these investigations and how do you apply them to high-profile cases going forward?
So some of the questions I have resulting in the prosecution of Karen Reed is who approved the indictments? Who approved the prosecutor who went before the grand jury to seek the indictments that were later voted on? Was there a memo that supported the request for these indictments? Was there a summary of the facts that support each and every one of the indictments sought by the ADA in the grand jury? Those are the questions I have, and those are the questions that we should not have when it comes to any case that's indicted in any county. Any case that's brought to the grand jury must be supported by probable cause. In fact, it should be supported by beyond a reasonable doubt, because if you cannot prove a case at trial, it should not be indicted. So that's my question, is what type of oversight existed, or exists, I should say, at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office? Because based on what I know from the media, and I've never reviewed the case file, I only know what everyone else knows, there is a lacking of oversight, there's a lacking of supervision, there is a lacking of executive decisions in that office. And so that's the first thing I would consider. And that's the lessons that I think that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office learned, is that there needs to be supervision, there needs to be oversight, there needs to be experience in reviewing these type of cases before they go to the grand jury for indictment.
Attorney Deitch, what are the lessons from your perspective and how do you apply them going forward, particularly in high-profile cases?
Yeah, I'll take the second question first. How do you handle high-profile cases? At bottom, like any other case, you follow the facts and the evidence, full stop. No shortcuts, no rushes to judgment, no drawing conclusions before all the evidence is collected in a particular case. You follow the facts and the law, and no one is above the law, period. I am proud and honored to be able to tell you that last week, members of Sandra Birchmore's family who have been fighting for justice for Sandra now for years evaluated this race and decided to endorse my candidacy for district attorney, in part because they believe that I am the outside candidate who can come in and ensure that the facts and the evidence dictate prosecutorial decision-making in Norfolk County. And I think Jim raises a really good point. The Sandra Birchmore case and the Karen Reed case raise very serious questions about what's going on at this district attorney's office. But you also have to ask, what else has been going on over the last 16 years that we don't even know about?
The big question, right? I mean, that's why I want Deitch Perkins or Adam Deitch in there, either one of them, or Jim Barakat. I don't think he has a chance, but I like Jim too. But any of these folks, because I think they will all look into it. I think we do have a lot of good candidates. One of them has to win. Hopefully, it's not Greg Connor. Young Black Economist says, I tried to get to find polls on this race a few weeks ago and couldn't find out, but didn't look too hard. I've looked. There are no polls. There are simply no publicly released polls on this race. I asked Deitch Perkins about that recently too when she was on the show. She said that she hasn't seen any polls. There just has not been a poll done on this. If it has, it's internal within the campaigns, and they haven't released it to the public. I'm hoping somebody does a poll. It's about time. It is 4 months out. It's still early, but I wouldn't doubt that we do see a poll or two. We'll see in the next month or two. That will really tell us where. I think a couple things will tell us where this race is going. Is the next cycle of campaign donations. Is Greg Conner continuing to gain momentum? Does Adam Deitch start to catch momentum with some of these in district donations? Now that he's coming out and speaking a lot more, he's going to a lot more community forums. He's got Sandra Birchmore family endorsement, which he's speaking about. Is he going to start to get more of those donations from within the district? That's a big question. I'd love to see some poll on this, but so far, no polling. No polling. We do have a poll here, though. We've been running a poll. What's our poll? Did I lose it? Oh, here it is. Hold on. What's our poll right now? Who do you support for DA? Adam Deitch is leading, 75% of the vote. Second place, Juna Perkins in our poll, 18%. Connor and Barakat are in last place with 4% each. It'd be interesting to see if it would change at all with Macy Lee in here, who's one of the campaigns here that we're seeing kind of for the first time. What's interesting is that Connor didn't show up to this forum.
I think one of the lessons that we've learned here is whether it's high profile, if it's high profile, like the office has been exposed as a national embarrassment. But if it's not high profile, as Jim pointed out, we need to open the hood and look at the documents and figure out what else is going wrong, what else has gone wrong there.
Thank you. Attorney Perkins, the last word to you.
Thank you. So one of the themes that I think runs through all of the controversial cases we've seen is that the decisions by the district attorney seem to have been driven by ego. And ego should play no role whatsoever in a district attorney's office. The district attorney has an ethical obligation to keep an open mind. That's another thing that we saw over and over again, was the failure to keep an open mind. Confirmation bias was all over the place. And even when new evidence appeared, the district attorney dug his heels in. That is completely wrong and should never have happened. And
this is another reason I like Juna Perkins. There are a lot of reasons I like her. She doesn't rush to judgment, but she's methodical. She thinks about things, and I think that she does get to the right place. She was the first with Sandra Birchmore. She was the first to be saying these things about Sandra Birchmore as a candidate. But she's not like just impulsive, and she's not about the bias. She really investigates and thinks.
Finally, and most importantly, the most devastating impact about both of those cases is that there is no justice ultimately for any of these families. And so, that is the true travesty of the decisions made by this district attorney.
Thank you. Erica, you invited us during your remarks to think about whether or not high profile is maybe the wrong focus within the question, whether the issue.
All right. So one of my mods is asking me for all the candidates left to right. I'll just read them. The first one in the light blue, I believe it's Juna Perkins. She is in the far left. Right next to her is a public defender. His name is Jim Barakat. He's on Twitter, X. He's a great guy. Jim Barakat. He's a public defender. He's been on the show as well. He's quality, a good person, has a good heart. He's also a thinker. I like Jim Barakat. He's got some good experience. Right next to Jim Barakat, the other woman, the woman in the black, I believe, her name is Macy Lee. She is a former Suffolk County prosecutor, just like Juna Perkins. They're both from the Suffolk County DA's office. So that's Macy Lee. And obviously the far right is Adam Deitch, the former federal prosecutor. That's all the candidates you see on the stage, left to right. Greg Conner is not there. He's the only one that we don't see. There's also another candidate, Craig McClellan. He is also not there. So there's two candidates that we know of that aren't there. There's at least 6 candidates that we know of. There could be even more, but this is a 6-person race right now. I think the top 2 are here. I think Juna Perkins and Adam Deitch are within the top 3, and Greg Conner, the other guy in the top 3, is not there. All right, so let's play a little more.
That we saw in those cases that you all have raised perhaps appeared under the brightest spotlights, but that other cases have not enjoyed the same critical thinking. So my question that I'll begin with you is, where are the areas where the spotlight should be shown where it is not in Norfolk County in terms of the functioning and priorities of the district attorney's office?
So we do need to get back to, I guess, Adam mentioned me, so I'll mention him, the nuts and bolts of prosecution. I don't think just that in the general realm of it being a high profile case, whether that means it should be treated any differently than any other case that comes through the door. I think where it could be shown to at least maybe some improvement is the district attorney's office has an immense power to weed out any cases it wants to, prosecutorial discretion where it deems discretion necessary, and also overcharging. I think it's one of the dirtiest tricks in the book to overcharge just to try to move on a plea and get the win in your column and move on to the next case. But with the immense power, I think they have immense responsibility to weed out those cases that are that I would call garbage, and they're essentially weighing down the system in overworking not just prosecutors but defense attorneys as well. Cases that are clogging up the court system that could ultimately have just been either diverted or just not even filed at all. And that's done.
Attorney, the same question to you. Where would you place a spotlight where it has not been placed outside of the high-profile cases that we've talked about?
I think that all cases should be given the same amount of attention, despite who the victims are, whether it's high profile or not. Cases should not be politicized, because I think one of the things that have been demonstrated through the Karen Reed trial is we forgot someone named John O'Keefe, and that family lost a son, father, a brother, a friend. And that high profile case overshadowed the tragic loss of someone in our community. So I think that all cases should be considered on the same level without politics involved. And the evidence should be considered in the same way, and whether there is enough to indict, whether there is enough to bring to trial, and whether a jury will convict, regardless of whether the case could be used for political reasons, whether it's considered to be high profile or not.
I know in your remarks, Attorney Deitch, you mentioned treating those high profile cases the same as you would any other case. Do you agree with the sentiment from Attorney Barakat that if the focus and spotlight was placed there, that we may see some of those same issues, or are even likely to see them?
I think the only conclusion that can be drawn based on the evidence we've all seen is that, yes, when we start looking at other cases, we're going to see other problems. But I do want to take the question in a slightly different direction, if I may. I think part of the question is, where has the spotlight not been shown? And instead of I'm trying to run based on a positive vision for the future of the office. And I do think the spotlight hasn't been shown on an opportunity that exists in this moment for this office. An opportunity to make this office a beacon for the recruitment and retention of the best prosecutors in the state. An opportunity to make the DA's office one where the attorneys who work there and the staff who work there can be proud of where they work again. And I think a key component of that is electing a change candidate in this race. Someone who can come in from the outside, who's going to work as hard as he or she can to ensure that the future of the DA's office is a heck of a lot brighter than the last few years have been. And so I do see, despite all of kind of the negativity of the past few years, a real genuine opportunity to make this DA's office a great one.
So we'll hand the spotlight now to you, Attorney Perkins, and ask you where you shine it, perhaps somewhere that hasn't garnered as much attention as the cases we talked about.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I would prioritize crimes of violence, abuse, and fraud, anything that involves real evil, because that is exactly what those crimes are. What I've seen in my own practice in the last 13 years is that we live in a pretty safe county, and that's great. But some of the worst crimes that we face are happening in our homes and at school. Something like 24%, in some recent survey in Massachusetts of Massachusetts teens, something like 24% of teens talk about having been stalked or having some other negative or domestic violence with their romantic partners as a teenager. That is incredibly dangerous for our society, as if we can't correct that sooner with.
Like Juna Perkins, she specializes in this domestic violence, workplace violence, violence against women. She specializes in this, and this is a big problem within Massachusetts and a lot of places, and especially this district where a lot of things have been covered up like that. So something that she has the experience. I think Adam Deitch and Juna Perkins both have unique experiences that make them qualified for this job.
better programming and teaching of students. Something like 60% of women and 40% of men have in Massachusetts have described having experienced sexual assault in their lifetime. That is a huge number of people.
Yeah, SA, she's experienced. This is what a lot of times she gets hired to do. I want to thank Bella Mama 2730 says, Young Jerks, I think you should continue to do it. That's what your show is known for, to do that. So let people see the residents' views on Canton. I don't think you should stop it. You should continue. I see what you're saying about the Canton Select Board. Yeah, I'll try to do my best. I'm just saying, if I need a week off, like I did this week, I took it off. I spent my birthday with family. I didn't do any shows this week. I just kind of relaxed. I wanted some solitude, and I do my best. And I really appreciate your comment. Thank you for the support.
Who have experienced these kinds of crimes that have incredibly long-lasting impacts on people and on their productivity in society. I think we need to really work on those a lot. And specifically in the Norfolk DA's office, I've heard many reports from people in the last few years about experiences they've had in the DA's office that show me that we need to be far more trauma-informed in the way the district attorney's office investigates cases and prosecutes them for true justice.
Thank you. And the last word to you, Attorney Berkey.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just, keep pushing that. You can decriminalize in your discretion, and you could also divert in your discretion, and that's shown by many studies to show to drop recidivism in crime. The number one contributor to recidivism is having a record in the first place. So if you can do what you can to avoid maybe first-time offenders from ever having a record in the first place, you're doing much more help to the community at large than you can by just throwing someone into jail. Now, 88% of
yeah, I'd love to see where everyone in the chat is from. If you're out of state, maybe out of the country, are you in Massachusetts? Which county are you in? I'm in Essex County, so I can't vote in this primary. I'm not going to be a voter. And that's another reason I'm not going to endorse anyone. I'm not in the district. I think it's up to the residents of the district to really offer their endorsements, not somebody like me who's 2 districts away. But I'm in Essex County. I'd love to see what other people, where they're at. Where are you at?
Are in there for
you voting in Norfolk County?
Misdemeanors, nonviolent, and to give so much effort and dedication to that portion when you could use those resources to prosecute violent offenders doesn't make sense, not for this county.
For this next question, we'll move first to Attorney Lee. And this question centers around trust, the question of trust. We've discussed this in different aspects. Trust in the criminal legal system varies widely across communities, different communities. What would you do to build and sustain trust, particularly in communities that are skeptical of the criminal legal system?
I
think trust goes hand in hand with transparency. When you have a transparent office, you gain public trust. One of the first things I would do as district attorney is to visit all the 27 towns that are in Norfolk County. Have a presence, walk the neighborhoods, go talk at schools, meet parents, have a night out. I don't know if they still do that, but I know in Suffolk County, they used to have a night out, and I used to participate in that in Chinatown, which is where I grew up. And that engages the community. You have a connection with the community, and nothing, in my opinion, replaces face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact. And that's something that has not been happening in the current Norfolk County District Attorney. So I think going out to the community, meeting people, talking to people, establishing a bond, and hearing what concerns them the most is the first step to gaining public trust. The second thing, as I said about transparency, is be open, follow the law. When somebody files a FOIA request, you should respond to it on a timely basis. And if you can't, ask for an extension. My understanding is that the current Norfolk County District Attorney's Office usually does not respond to FOIA requests. That's in violation of the public records statute. So start doing that. So if you're responsive, then the public knows that, oh, okay, you have nothing to hide. This is an office that we can reach out, have a connection to. So I think that's really important for the community.
Thank you, Attorney Deitch. So we've heard from Attorney Lee about engaging with community partners, about transparency, respect in the records production process. What would you do to build trust, particularly amongst communities that may be skeptical of your office?
Yeah, and thank you for this question as well. It's going to be hard because Michael Morrissey and his leadership team have eroded the public's trust in this office. So it's just another reason why someone coming in from the outside is fundamentally necessary if a goal is to rebuild the public's trust in this DA's office. I I address this, and I have this conversation frequently with voters. I've now had that literally thousands of conversations with folks across Norfolk County over the past few months, and they feel almost to a person that the DA's office is closed to them. It touches on the two-tiered system that I talked about before, but it also resonates in a different way. Voters and citizens are not going to trust a DA's office that they think is closed to them. So in addition to holding town halls across the 28 cities and towns in Norfolk County, in addition to introducing accountability to the public as a fundamental principle of my DA's office, we're also going to implement something called data-driven prosecution.
I like data-driven prosecution, but even more so like town halls in every town and city in the district. That's something Michael Morrissey will never do. There are a lot of good ideas being brought up by these candidates.
Which is as obvious as it sounds, and unfortunately is not a 90-second concept. But collecting, analyzing, and publishing data will enable the DA's office to demonstrate over time what it's doing, why it's doing it, and also how to measure success. Engaging with the public on all of that will be critical to rebuilding trust.
Thank you. Attorney Perkins.
Thank you. So first of all, I agree with Adam that, with Attorney Deitch, sorry, that it would
She called him Adam, and then Attorney Deitch, she got a little smile out of Adam. It's funny because he kind of went at her. Actually, not even him. Someone for his campaign went after her and called her desperate at one point. But I think they actually like each other, especially since they've gotten to know. I don't know. I don't really know, but I think they might begrudgingly like each other, even though they know that they're very heavily competing for voters right now. But you can feel it. It's funny. Usually the front runners are at the center of the screen. The two front runners are on the left and right. Like in this debate, the top two candidates out of the four of them are on the left and the right. It's funny how far apart they are. But it seems like they've been kind of going back and forth. Like a lot of especially Junior, she's been kind of going back at him. This is interesting.
Well, cultural change takes time. I've seen this in other major institutions that have suffered from serious crises. It does take time, and so people are going to have to be a little bit patient, but it doesn't mean we give up. We keep going. We keep doing the job the way it's supposed to be done, and eventually the trust will be regained. It also will be regained by giving victims and witnesses, maximizing their agency, maximizing the support that they get in the court system by showing empathy and respect to every single person who comes before the district.
See, that's another thing I like about her. She really means the empathy and respect. And she told her story about how she grew up and why this stuff matters so much to her, even since she was a child, and why it matters. And so there's a lot to her history and why she cares and why she has empathy for people and how she has understanding. What's interesting here is that every time when Adam speaks, you notice Juna Perkins taking notes. When Juna speaks, Adam Deitch is taking notes. I've noticed that they're both taking notes. I wonder if they're writing down each other's different ideas that they feel are good, because they both lead with some good ideas.
Attorney's office and interacts with the district attorney's office, and being accessible and available to the people that we serve, not just in one town or city, but all 28 and all 730,000 of us.
Like that.
Finally, I think that there's an organization in Franklin called the SAFE Coalition, and it's an organization it's a coalition of community agencies that meet to discuss and help support individuals in the community with any variety of problems. So it's schools, medical centers, mental health providers, substance abuse disorders, and they all work together to try to support people in the community with that before crimes occur. And I would like to expand those kinds of programs all over the county.
We go.
Thank you, Attorney.
Another good idea.
I believe Attorney Lee said it right on the head. Transparency and accountability. I don't think it's just something we need to strive for. It's going to be something that the public absolutely 100% expects. And to build and sustain that trust, I think it'll be real important to do whatever we can to show that we care about racial disparity in charging decisions, especially if judges give any racially disparate sentences out to defendants. The DA's office should and could show that they care about the community, not just for the victims of the crime, but also for the families of the accused and the incarcerated. Because in many times you're now caging the sole breadwinner of the home. You might leave a poor mother with 3 kids and no income. These are collateral consequences that happen in every prosecution, and these it's sad, but these are also the victims of the crimes of the defendants. And your decisions, when you do make them, they have to be founded in credibility. You have to come off as credible. You can't just make a show like you're doing something to look good on paper. You have to be very genuine about what you implement.
Thank you. And the last word to you, Attorney.
I also want to add that Norfolk County has the largest Asian community in all of the Commonwealth. And that community resides in Brookline, Quincy in its majority, Weymouth, Braintree, and Randolph. And in my discussions,
This is the wild card right here. She just said it, Macy Lee. And it's funny because I haven't looked at her campaign donations. That's something we should definitely take a look at to see if she's raising money, because I didn't realize that Norfolk County has the largest Asian community in the state. Like, that could definitely give her an edge. Maybe she's the candidate we're underestimating. Maybe she's the one who might sneak up on everybody. We should be looking at her donations. Now I'm curious.
numerous ones with the Asian community, there's no
I'm
trust
gonna
with the
look
Norfolk
right
County
now.
District Attorney's Office, mainly because of cultural and language barriers. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Chinatown. My parents are immigrants. I speak 2 languages. And there's always a distrust of law enforcement when there are cultural and language barriers. And that is one of my goals when I become district attorney, is to remove those cultural and language barriers so that not only the Asian communities, but the Cape Verdean community, the Spanish-speaking community, they feel that they can go to the district attorney's office when there is a threat of public safety in their communities, their neighborhoods, their home, et cetera. So I think that's another way to gain trust with the community, is understanding the cultural and language barriers and removing them.
Thank you. As we move to Attorney Deitch for the next question, I'd like to pick up on points that many of you mentioned during the course of your answers, which is engagement with community partners. Attorney Perkins talked to us about the Safe Coalition. Attorney Lee, you talked about night outs, going on walks with parents, going to schools, engaging with Asian community in Norfolk County. So
She's got 120 individual donations so far. Let's see what she has in Massachusetts, actually. So it looks like she's doing okay. She's not up there on Deitch's level or Juna Perkins or Connor. It looks like she's probably the 4th place candidate right now in terms of donations from the district, I'm guessing. Actually, let's look at see if how many are actually from Mass real quick here. She looks like she's doing all right, actually, but I wouldn't say she's number 1. Yeah, she's got 105 donations from Massachusetts residents.
the question I'd like to begin for Attorney Deitch and the panel here is, which community?
She's in contention. I'd say she's top 4 now. That's what I would guess. Unless McClellan is pouring it on. I haven't looked at his numbers either, but not bad. Lee's actually in contention.
Partners have you engaged with or will you engage with to help you understand what changes you should make to improve your office?
Yeah. So let me step back for a second and underscore how important the district attorney's partnerships across the board are. And that includes partnerships with other law enforcement agencies, whether it's local police departments, whether it's the Massachusetts State Police, whether it's the Justice Department and federal agencies. And I think one thing that I hear from voters, I hear from members of law enforcement, the district attorney's office to date in Norfolk County has failed in maintaining those kinds of partnerships. And I think when that happens,
You know, law talkers, I think she actually has. I think she's gotten better. Her last interview with us was I thought her best one by far since she's been coming on. Just some people just aren't naturally good at this. I mean, you can work on your delivery and train as much as possible, but some people just are not as good naturally. And like Adam Deitch, you can't teach him he is just so good. You just can't teach it, it's just, so I think there's only so much you can do with practicing.
public suffers and public safety isn't protected in the same way. And part of it might be the function of some of the cases we've already talked about. Part of it is the function of the leadership team at the DA's office in many different facets, not engaging with federal partners, with state partners, with local law enforcement partners. And I think that's a priority that will be critical for the next DA to rebuild those partnerships. We talk about the World Cup happening this summer and the law enforcement challenges that something like the World Cup presents. It requires district attorneys' offices, police departments, the state. It requires people working together. And that's something that hasn't been happening the way that it should in Norfolk County, and something that will improve under my leadership.
Attorney Perkins, we come to you. Which community groups have you reached out to or will you reach out to learn how you can better work to improve the office that you would run?
So I've reached out to a number of substance abuse or substance disorder organizations, domestic violence organizations, mental health organizations, youth organizations. And I think that I would, at the very beginning, I would do a listening tour of all of the critical stakeholders in the community, police departments, schools in each town, and all of these other groups that we've mentioned, affinity groups, based on culture, LGBTQ plus, language, everything that you can imagine, to kind of take a 360-degree feedback survey from the community about what really matters, business owners, and local residents too. And I think that's something that I would continue to do, to continue to have, to meet with people on a regular basis from those institutions.
Thank you. Attorney Barricat, same question to you.
So there's a lot of restorative justice groups out available. There's not one, two in particular, but victims of crimes don't always just want to see someone locked up. Sometimes that could even exacerbate the problem. They could get out. They could be more upset that they just spent time incarcerated over something they did to this individual. So the reflection that goes into restorative justice, the accountability and the potential mental health treatment are huge factors in the harm reduction benefits of restorative justice groups. But also, I was brainstorming prisoners legal services of Greater Boston. A lot of time they help inmates reintegrate into society when their time is up in jail or the house of correction or state prison. Will these individuals who come out of jail be educated? Will there be job opportunities for them? Is there going to be housing for them? Because if there's none of these things for them, they're just going to turn back to a life of crime, and they're going to reoffend, and they're going to end up right back in prison. It's not going to do our community any favors.
Thank you. Attorney Lee.
Before I decided to run for Norfolk County District Attorney, I serve on the board of DOVE. DOVE is a nonprofit organization in Norfolk County and serves Norfolk County and aims to end domestic and partner violence. So I sit on the board, so I have a very good understanding of the nature and cases of domestic and partner violence in Norfolk County. It's a wonderful nonprofit, so I'm going to give it a shout out. It offers advocacy, support, and education about domestic and partner violence. I've also reached out to a lot of the police chiefs in the county so that I can hear from them in terms of what their communities are concerned about. For example, what is concerning in Quincy is very different than in Medway or Millis or Medfield or Wrentham or Milton, which is where I live. So every town has its own unique concerns. And I think it's really important as a district attorney to understand what concerns Quincy and the Chinese community there could be very different to the community in Stoughton or Wrentham. So I think that's my goal, is to meet with every police chief before September 1st and understand those community needs.
Thank you. We'll turn now for the last word to you, Attorney Deitch, and lead with some of the principles we heard. This initiative, going to meet with community groups, is it an ongoing initiative, as Attorney Perkins pointed out to us throughout the course of the administration?
I realize now that I basically used my first 90 seconds on this question with a non-responsive answer, so I'm glad this is one where I have the extra 60 seconds. I likewise reached out to community leaders and elected officials across the county, both before and after I announced, including people who work in the victim services space and mental health organizations and religious organizations. I reached out to all of the police chiefs. And I do think, to answer the finer point that you put on the question, these are continuing relationships and critical partnerships, because the district attorney's office does a lot more than prosecute criminals and maintain public safety. These kinds of relationships are what actually make our communities safe. It's not arresting and prosecuting every criminal. It is these relationships and supporting what a lot of these kinds of community organizations do every day.
Thank you. I'd like to pick up on a principle that Attorney Barricat mentioned as we move next to Attorney Perkins. You mentioned restorative justice. Our criminal process seminar here, the prosecution defense students had the opportunity last week to visit MCI Norfolk and to see the way in which incarcerated men there and their community partners who engage with them in circles are instituting restorative justice and using that as a process to heal and to take accountability. Is that a principle, restorative justice, that would be important to you? And would you be willing as well to travel to MCI Norfolk to see what they're doing there in a location that has really been one of the bastions of that principle?
Yeah, I really agree with restorative justice. Most of the most of the people who talk about it, or most of the studies that have been done, really talk about its benefits for criminal defendants. But honestly, my work has shown me, working with hundreds of victims, the number one thing that victims want is acknowledgement and validation of the wrong and the harm caused. And so, and there are a few district attorneys around the country who are using it to benefit victims in violent crime cases. It is amazing as a prosecutor when you're trying to negotiate penalties, and in civil litigation when you're trying to negotiate settlements, that the thing that is the most hard to get is for somebody to say, I did something bad and I'm really sorry. So if you can get that, it is worth a tremendous amount. And I know that there are pilot projects, I think in Dorchester maybe, that for restorative justice. I understand that they
Taking
are
notes
going
again.
well, but I think that
Time
actually it's the
Judah
defense
speaks.
bar who has some reticence about it sometimes. But I'm definitely open to anything that makes that empowers victims of crime and makes them feel like they actually are made as whole as can possibly be made as a result of a crime.
Thank you. So we'll turn now to you, Attorney Barrett. You opened this question, this idea, so I want to return to you. What is your view of restorative justice? Have you been to MCI Norfolk? Would you go?
I actually have been to MCI Norfolk along with some colleagues and a district court judge in a jurisdiction where I do practice in front of. And I'll be honest, I mean, it was completely eye-opening. I mean, these older adults, a lot of them were lifers, and were doing a lot of great work in showing the other inmates who might not have a life sentence that there is another path. I mean, you could take it for what it is, but
What I also like about the candidates here is they have good hair. I mean, I want to know right now in the chat who has better hair, Jim Barricat or Adam Deitch. Adam Deitch has some very nice hair. I mean, especially that little flip at the top. But Jim also, like, he's got a good head of lettuce. I mean, I'm envious. I think my hair isn't too bad, but it pales in comparison to these two gentlemen. We don't have any baldies like Tully up there. The two guys with a good head of hair, a good set of lettuce. Which one do you like the best? Who has the best hair on the panel tonight at this forum? I'd say it's the two dudes, which is funny. I'd say it's either Adam Deitch or Jim Paracat. I can't decide which one has the best hair. The important stuff.
I'm a stern believer of, you're not defined by,
Jim
or you
has the
shouldn't be
best
defined
hair?
by the worst thing you've ever done.
He has good
And
hair.
I think it's a
Very
philosophy
good
that a
hair.
lot of these inmates have taken. And even just think of yourself 5, 6, 10 years ago. You're not the same person you were then. And time in these carceral settings, whether for better or worse, can change you as well. But I think programs like restorative justice, especially at state prisons, are really tipping the scale that these folks can get out, be different people, and learn from what did their harm actually do versus I've put in my time, I'm done, and I'm absolved of what it is that I did.
Attorney Lee, would the process of restorative justice have a place under District Attorney Lee?
Yes, I am a huge proponent of restorative justice. That was a big program at the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office under District Attorney Dan Conley at the time, and I did participate in the circle twice while I was there. So I have been to MCI Norfolk as part of the restorative justice program. And I am a big proponent, and it would be something I would implement in Norfolk County.
You ask a bunch of Democrats if they like restorative justice, you're going to get a bunch of yeses. So I'll add to that for sure. I think one restorative justice is at the back end of a case and can have tremendous effect on both the defendant and the victim and victims' families. At the front end, and I hope we get to talk about this today, I think diversion and treatment are ways to address all kinds of low-level first-time offense type crime. And I think instituting these kinds of concepts in Norfolk County or embracing the ones as they exist and making them stronger.
I think restorative justice is a great thing. I feel like it gets a bad rap, but I think it's also good for the victims. The victims like restorative justice because it gives them what they want, which is the person to admit it and try to make amends, right? As much as possible. I mean, you obviously can't make amends 100%, but you can try. You can try, and you can acknowledge it and admit that you had fault. It's like I look at one of my relatives who got into an accident at one point that was their fault. They had been drinking. When they ran into a fence, they took the fence down. The next day, they were down there knocking at that door of the house that they knocked down the fence and said, I'm going to fix this for you. I'm the guy who ruined your fence. I'll be down. I got a crew. We're gonna fix it. Is it all right if we do it Saturday?" And they were like, "Yes." And like the family that got their fence knocked down actually showed up in court and testified for them and said, "Hey, this person acknowledged their mistake and made amends and fixed it." Like that's what restorative justice should be about. And that's how you stop the cycle too. It's when people actually have to pay for their debts, you know? And that doesn't always include jail time. Jail time is obviously one punishment way to settle debts, but there are I think, much better ways where both the person who is the perpetrator and the victim both feel much more whole in the process, you know? Restorative justice, that's what it's called. I like the idea. I think it's hard to implement, though, unfortunately. It's not as easy said as done, especially with some of these horrific crimes where you can't, when someone dies or gets murdered, you can't, how can you restore on that one? You know what I mean? So,
will be incredibly important. We want a smart, modern district attorney's office, and that requires diversion and treatment as options on the front end. It absolutely includes restorative justice on the back end in cases where it's appropriate. I've spent myself a good amount of time in prisons, mostly in a setting where I'm visiting where I used to visit clients when I worked for the Innocence Project. And I have seen some of the worst aspects of that and some of the best. A dear friend of mine helps to run the restorative justice program at the federal courthouse. And I know through her just how important and powerful it can be. It's something that would absolutely be part of my district attorney's office.
Thank you. And last word to you, Attorney Perkins.
One thing I also wanted to mention from one of the last questions was emerging adult courts. That is a trending topic, and I think that that's an amazing idea because the bulk of crimes are committed by youth ages 18 to 24. And I think in Springfield they have a program called ROCA, which is a nonprofit where it's
these diversion programs for kids, especially young people who maybe aren't teenagers, but 18 to 24. I mean, that's where a lot of people go wrong in their lives, and a lot of times we just need to make sure that we get them back on track, right? This is a good question from Freeze Frame. I would like to know what they will do regarding the huge issue of sex predators and groomers among law enforcement officers. How about investigating those agencies? That's another reason why I like Juna Perkins. I think she's the one who would definitely root that stuff out. That this is like what she's dedicated her whole career to, is stopping institutional essays and all this kind of crap that goes on. So yeah, JFK cares a lot about this. Original Jola, you're so right. The emerging adults. And the thing about JFK and myself too is we know how much of a difference it makes. I look at my own life and how much a difference my coaches specifically made in my life. Where I could have easily gone down that wrong road. There's so many times, even where I was still kind of, even when they were investing in me, still kind of heading in the wrong road, and they would pull me aside, and they knew it, and they stuck with me and believe. When you have somebody that believes in you, that you respect like that, you kind of rise to it. You rise to what they expect from you, and it makes such a big difference. I was a coach too, so I saw a lot of that with some of these kids. And it's such a tough time between, I'd say, the ages of 15 to like 25. I mean, those are the most important years for people. So second chances mean a lot. But you have to make sure that they're just not going to reoffend again. And especially if it's violence, like this is all not easy work.
basically diversion programs, but with significant rigorous accountability measures so that the people who are in this program have to get jobs, go to school, get housing, so that they do not.
I mean, I brought up this question today just based on this other scandal and the Quigley scandal, which isn't about a sexual assault. It's about them covering up a Mass State police officer getting drunk, speeding, driving into a van filled with Special Olympics athletes and killing one of them. And then the state police covering it up. And they aren't investigating the police who covered it up. Like, that should be a criminal investigation right now. So, like, again, freeze frame, you're on the right track. They just keep covering up shit. I mean, whether it's a sexual angle or not, whether it's an OUI death, they cover up everything among the Mass State Police, among themselves. And they have to start throwing people in jail. And that's what's the good thing about the Enrique Delgado Garcia is they hired an independent investigator named David Meyer who's looking into this. They should do the same thing with this Quigley thing. They should do the same thing with the Proctor thing. They should be investigating Sandra Birchmore and starting to throw some of these police officers in jail if they were in on any type of cover-up stuff.
They become productive citizens and do not commit crime, which makes us all safer.
I think the program as well that exists in
No
Suffolk
one's
County.
investigating that.
I want to move on now. I know you're going to be shocked that we are not as far through the questions as I would like as we ended the prepared questions portion. I do want to ask you one more before we move to some of the questions that have been submitted by members of our law school community. And we'll go to Attorney Barakat first, which is when you walk into a courtroom in Norfolk County, do you see racial and ethnic disparities?
I think you do, and it does all stem from socioeconomical problems, and I don't think you can kind of avoid that. I think it's implicitly biased staff at courts. I think it's practitioners that are not aware of their implicit bias, and I think it's also something that needs to be addressed. I know folks have tried to address it, have come up short. So it's certainly a hot topic that the more you can get people to self-identify and agree that yes, there is racial disparities in the courts within Norfolk County, to the tune of something of 50 plus African American defendants to the small portion size that African Americans make up in Norfolk County. So until you're ready to address that, you're not going to be you're not going to get other folks on board who haven't yet addressed that.
Shirley, what do you see when you walk in courts in Norfolk County?
So I have walked through into courts in Norfolk County. When I was an assistant district attorney in Suffolk County, I led many complex and lengthy wiretap investigations. And a lot of times those investigations went into Norfolk County. So I would have to use the Norfolk County grand jury to indict arrests stemming from Braintree, Quincy, Randolph, Weymouth, Milton, et cetera, many towns in Norfolk County. And there was a huge difference using the grand jury in Norfolk County. My recollection is it is primarily white. I don't remember seeing any color in that grand jury. I don't remember seeing any color in Norfolk Superior Court or Quincy District Court, other than the people behind the box and lockup.
It's interesting. All the courts are all white in Norfolk County in terms of the employees. And that's who does the political patronage. They're the ones who make donations to Michael Morrissey. So the people who make the donations get the jobs. That's in Quincy a lot. We've seen that. I know that from my past. Going to Bridgewater State College and knowing some of these Quincy guys and how they get jobs at the courts. I want to thank, we got another Venmo tonight. The message was, I gifted 18s for luck. It was a $36 donation. I really appreciate that. And they go on to say, to help attempt to cover the young jerks VIG tonight, or the YouTube VIG tonight. Rando supporter, also Sully Carr on the X. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Sully X or Rando supporter. You gave 2 donations tonight, one on Venmo for $36 and also on the Super Chats. Much appreciated. Sully, I'm going to have to thank you on X tonight. Thank you.
Yes, racial disparity exists. And I think people oftentimes forget because we are in Norfolk County, but we have to remember that towns like Milton, Quincy, Brookline, and Dedham border Suffolk County. They border Mattapan, Hyde Park. They border, to some extent, Roxbury into that particular area. And with that brings in people who identify themselves as people of color, and that comes into Norfolk County. So I think Norfolk County does suffer from racial disparity in terms of crimes being charged, perhaps in sentencing. I have not studied that, but from what I've seen, yes, it does exist.
Same question to you.
My answer is yes. And it's before I decided to run, I spent time in the district courts in Quincy and Dedham and Rentham because most of my experience has taken place in federal court. And what I saw there in terms of racial disparity is what I've seen in almost every criminal courtroom I've been in my career, including the federal courthouse in Boston. And there are racial disparities. Some of it is socioeconomic, and none of it is okay. And there are ways to thoughtfully evaluate what an office does and try to right any kind of racial disparity that does exist. It requires thoughtful, data-driven leadership. It involves things like effective diversion programs and treatment in cases where substance use disorder or mental health issues are the underlying cause of criminal conduct. Incarceration is not increasing public safety. It's actually making it worse. And recidivism rates for folks who are committing crimes because of substance use disorder or because of a mental health issue, the recidivism rates.
The number one predictor if you're going to commit a crime again is if you just got released from jail. I mean, that says it all. It doesn't curb crime. It actually kind of increases it when you put people in jail, unfortunately. I mean, sometimes we need to be obviously protected from some people, but there's a lot of cases where it just makes things a lot worse. Um, I had something else I was going to say. What was I trying to remember? I lost my train of thought. Geez, what was it? I thought it was, I can't remember. I had something I wanted to add and I just lost my train of thought. That's so funny. It happens to us, unfortunately. We're humans. Let's watch some more of this, I guess. What did I want
After incarceration are higher for them than otherwise. And I think there are ways to attack these kinds of issues with thoughtful, forward-thinking leadership that we need in Norfolk County.
Thank you. Attorney Perkins, same question to you. What do you see when you walk in courtrooms in Norfolk County?
Definitely disparities between race, among race and socioeconomic class. I think that the district attorney's office should be the best law firm in the county, and that the way that we do that and the way that we also help address racial disparities is by having a district attorney's office that reflects the diversity of the community that we serve. I think that is also the way that we get the most diverse talent, and that's the way we get the most diverse perspectives. I also would absolutely make sure that every single member of the office is trained in implicit bias and in the avoidance of confirmation bias. And I would be very interested in analyzing prosecution outcomes to evaluate disparate impact on on particular groups and why that's happening. It may or may not be related to anything fundamentally wrong in what we're doing, but we need to know what are the reasons that this is happening. So I definitely favor all that.
Attorney Barrett, as we move to you for the last word, how do we approach changing the problem that we've all identified here, or beginning to, that monumental task?
Well,
say? Funny as hell. It's a nothing thing, but I just bring it up. It's funny. For whatever reason, we've had not a lot, but quite a few people on Twitch watching tonight. I'm seeing all the Twitch folks. I haven't had many Twitch comments lately. I'd love to see a Twitch comment. I see a new Facebook comment coming back from Mary. She's up on Facebook watching us. I'd love to see one of the Twitch. I don't even know what we call you. Do we call you Twitchers? Twitchies? One of the Twitchies. I'd love to see a comment from a Twitcher tonight. We haven't had a Twitch comment in a while, but some people are watching on Twitch. I want to welcome you to the Young Jerks on Twitch if you're watching there. Thank you.
it's an interesting inquiry because I know I mentioned about implicit bias, but the more you walk into courts within Norfolk County, the more, if you check the docket, you might see that there's some Commonwealth versus Long litigation happening. And, that as a defender signals to me that maybe there's definitely some non-race-based or race-based reason for stopping someone, for searching someone. And the more we see these long motions, long litigation, the more you start to realize maybe it's the system that is bringing defendants here in the first place. Maybe it's I don't like to throw the word racist out, but it could be a racist cop who stopped somebody and now they're in court, and when they don't stop that they don't stop white people at the same rates.
Thank you. The long litigation being a reference to bring a claim of a violation of equal protection rights in the way in which police make decisions to selectively enforce the law. I give you 60 seconds on a question that could probably be answered in an hour, so I appreciate your willingness to engage with it.
Sure.
I want to move now to some of the questions that have been submitted by our audience members. The first one of those, and we'll go first to you, Attorney Lee. As District Attorney, what steps will you take to ensure that immigration status does not impact a defendant's right to due process within the criminal justice system?
That should have no bearing whatsoever. Everyone is entitled to constitutional rights, not just citizens of the United States, but residents. So it should not be a factor at all. It's not a consideration. Everyone should be treated equally, entitled to the protections of the 14th Amendment. And for us, it would be Article 14 under the Massachusetts Constitution. So no effect at all. Again, it comes down to training. For all the assistant district attorneys, it's not a consideration. Everyone should be treated the same. And immigration status has no bearing whatsoever on prosecution as a victim, not a factor at all. And it shouldn't be.
Same question to you.
Yeah, with due process rights being one of the founding principles, not just of our court system, but our Constitution, the immigration issues are something I think we all get asked about quite a bit. And those due process rights are integral to a democracy and integral to the system that we're all operating in. Immigration status should not affect how a person proceeds through the court system and whether they are entitled to rights that everyone should have. I think the thing that I get asked about the most in the immigration context right now is, well, what are you going to do about ICE? And maybe that's a future question, and I don't want to derail my answer to this, but I think I will say DA's offices and local law enforcement should be focused on local issues and keeping our communities safe. And maybe we'll talk about ICE some more, but I think I agree with Macy, immigration status should not affect whether a person is entitled to those kinds of rights as they proceed through the court system.
What is your view, Attorney Perkins? Same question, how immigration status plays or does not play a role in the way in which your office will prosecute cases?
Right, it would not play any role in how my office would prosecute cases, but I am very concerned about the chilling effect that is happening right now, and that could continue to happen, of people being afraid to report crime or testify as witnesses or report to court to be prosecuted for crime because of their immigration status. I'm concerned about federal interference with local prosecutions because that's already been happening, and I'm concerned about the use of excessive force by federal agents and warrantless arrests. I support the PROTECT Act, which is now pending before the legislature, and I would also ensure that a staff member was assigned in my office to assist victims of domestic violence with obtaining U visas, which is a visa that is permitted specifically for people who are cooperating with investigations and prosecutions of domestic violence.
Thank you. Attorney Barrett, same question to you.
Yeah, and while it's sad, I feel that the immigrant clients that I work for, along with every other immigrant defendant, they need to be fully informed of the risks they are taking by showing up to court. It shouldn't work that way, bless you. And it also should be more of a safe haven. I don't think ICE has any role whatsoever at our courts. There's folks there for state crime and state civil offenses. And as Attorney Perkins said, sometimes they're even afraid to show up as a witness. I've been a witness personally to watching ICE remove a person from a courtroom. I've watched them remove people from the street right outside the courthouse. And it's sad that maybe a working father who also just happens to be an undocumented immigrant is walking around with a warrant for unregistered motor vehicle because they're too scared to show up at a courthouse to pay a fine. And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen here. It shouldn't happen anywhere in this country.
Attorney Lee, will give you the last word because you began on this subject. Also, in your answer, if you want to pick up on any of the points made by your colleagues about the interaction between ICE and the business of the court, be eager to hear your thoughts.
I think the only thing I would add is that as district attorney, the best thing that I can possibly do is to educate the residents of Norfolk County in knowing what their rights are. In other words, a NICE agent or no one, really no law enforcement agent can stop your car without reasonable suspicion. They can't ask you to exit a car or your house without probable cause or without a judicial warrant. They certainly cannot enter your house without a warrant or without your consent and without probable cause. And I think that education to the immigrant community, for the immigrant community, is really important so they understand their rights and they can assert them. And again, where there are cultural and language barriers involved, that's something the district attorney's office should be removing so that they can connect with the immigrant community and train them and educate them on what their rights are to prevent any.
Appreciate you saying that, Scott, because I feel like a lot of people aren't seeing the light here. I think he's in third place right now. I still think he can win. I think he really needs to lean into his endorsements. He needs to get in front of as many people as he can. I think he's starting to do that. But if I were him, I'd be doing video every day because this guy is a really good speaker. He's got a JFK quality, but he's got a lot against him. I like what you said, Scotty. Scott says Adam Deitch has a difficult road. He ain't no inside Democrat to run for office in Massachusetts. He is a Democrat, but he's not an inside Democrat. That's so true. And he's new. He's new to the district. He's not from Quincy. Greg Connor is from Quincy. People have known Greg Connor and Quincy for decades. Scotty goes on and says he certainly is a dark horse in this race and talking much about the systemic corruption in Mass. I just hope he's not a spoiler. I hope he doesn't take it away from Juna Perkins and Greg Connor wins. That's what I'm worried about. I hope that whether it's Deitch or Perkins, it gets so obvious who the front runner is that everyone just goes and votes for the front runner. Because I don't want to see Connor get in with such a divided slate of candidates. And this Macy Lee, she's actually raising some donors and having, Norfolk County being such a heavily Asian district. I didn't realize that Brookline has a lot of Asians in it. This race could get deeply divided. So I agree with you 100% on that, Scotty. Let's watch a little more. We're almost done with this. This has been a long debate. We have it at 1.25 to speed it up a little bit, but I do talk too much.
ICE actions or fear of their immigration steps.
Thank you. And we have about 15 more minutes before we're going to give everyone the chance for a closing statement. We'll have a different order for that. But the next question that I wanted to present to you also comes from our audience. It draws on a principle that Attorney Barakat mentioned earlier in terms of incarceration rates. Attorney Barakat talked about those rates here in the U.S. As compared to other countries and how elevated they are with respect to other places. The question reads, what are your views on current Massachusetts incarceration rates and reentry programs? And do you have any programs or goals to improve alternatives to incarceration and greater reentry services? So that's an action-packed question, but it revolves around what are your views on incarceration rates? How do we improve reentry so people aren't coming back?
And it's an important question too. I don't want to repeat things I've already said, but I think prioritizing at the front end of cases, diversion and treatment for nonviolent first-time offenders is an important, necessary step. I think on the back end, something that I would institute, and I alluded to this a little bit with recidivism rates for folks who deal with substance use disorder or mental health issues who are incarcerated, ensuring that they have those defendants.
Stop Adam for 1 second there. It's funny, law nerd, I don't agree with you, but I hear this all the time. Law nerd, says, I think Juna Perkins has been too silent on the corruption. The reason I don't agree with you is because she was the first one to actually ask for Michael Morrissey's resignation. She's the first candidate to say that she would get rid of all the Mass State Police up at the DA's office. She's the first one to say that she felt like Sandra Birchmore was murdered. She's the first one to say that she would prosecute Matthew Farwell. So I don't think she's actually been too silent. I just think that people, for whatever reason, aren't listening or aren't hearing what she's saying. Maybe it's her speaking style. I don't know. I think it's because Adam Deitch is such a good speaker and so clear, and people know where he stands, that you're comparing him to her, him to her. And I think that maybe that's what you're really saying. But my experience is she has actually called out the corruption. But I do hear what you're saying quite a lot. A lot of people do think the way that you do. There you go. Deitch is the only candidate that will bring a new perspective there. I mean, a lot of people do feel like that, especially the Free Karen Reed. All right, we're almost at the end. This is the last question and then closing statement. So we're getting towards the end finally. Won't be much longer.
The treatment and transitional help they need on the back end to reintegrate into communities. And I think in the cases where we are incarcerating folks who are dealing with those kinds of issues, that is the only solution, or you will get repeat offenders. So I think that's something that the DA's office can actually play a big role in, that my DA's office certainly would. I think the broader question about mass incarceration, the reality is it is a problem across the country. I bet there are a few people who disagree about that in this room, and it's a problem in Massachusetts. Our incarceration rates as a country compared to others are insane and hard to wrap your mind around. But I do think thoughtful prosecutors at the front end of cases are the solution. We are on the front lines of solving that problem, and that's something that we can do and can do better in Norfolk County.
Thank you. And Attorney Perkins, same question to you. Your views on incarceration rates in Massachusetts, and do you have programs or goals to improve alternatives to incarceration and greater reentry services?
So, well, first of all, I think that our incarceration rates in Massachusetts are actually fairly low. I don't think that it's not that easy to go to jail in Massachusetts. And I also agree that that incarceration should be reserved for the most violent offenses. That just makes.
Yeah, I like this answer. She speaks to reality. We really don't jail that many people in Massachusetts as it is. But if we do jail them, they should be the violent ones. I mean, that is the correct answer, Juna Perkins.
Sense. At the same time, of course, we know that 95% of people are going to return to the community, and therefore, as district attorney, the goal is anything that improves public safety is something that we have to consider. I also want to balance that though with services for victims of crime. So because those are still fairly limited, and so I just want to be careful to be doing both.
I think there's a lot to be said, Scotty. If you look at what happened in the Canton Select Board, Rita Lombardi had quite a bit of support from the residents in the town of Canton that I'm not sure Adam Deitch has. Like the people in Canton knew her. A lot of people supported her, but she didn't win that Canton Select Board election. Trish did, and Trish said less, So I think I think in these campaigns, what you see is you see the McAlbert campaign, and then you see the kind of the Free Karen Reed campaign, and then there's these kind of middle campaigns that don't say as much, and they're the ones that win. If you look at Canton Select Board, at least, they're the ones who won. Susan Harrington, Trish Boyden, right? They're kind of in the middle. I think that's what most voters actually want. They want someone that's not beholden to either side. And I think that's what Juna Perkins is actually playing for a little more than Adam Deitch. And I think there's a reason for that. And I think Adam Deitch has to kind of play his role because that's who he is. So I think it's just politics. I think you're onto something though. And I think it's actually a winning formula. And the reason I say that is because we saw it happen in Canton over and over again with these Canton Select Board elections.
But certainly reentry programs make a lot of sense because a happy and productive person is a safe person who will not commit crime.
Let me ask one follow-up.
Sure.
I know you mentioned that incarceration rates in Massachusetts, perhaps, or in Norfolk County, are not as high as you would expect or would exist under your direction. Would the under a district attorney Perkins, would there be more people incarcerated in Norfolk County?
Well, really, that's up to the judge. But no, I mean, I also believe in the sentencing guidelines. I think that those are, that they are generally reasonable because they offer a wide range. Every case is different and has to be evaluated individually on its own merits. Sometimes a case looks incredibly serious and terrible, and then when you get into it, it is actually not as.
That's a really weird question to answer. Will more people be incarcerated out of you? I mean, if you're doing a good job, I guess more people should be incarcerated, right? But are they the right people? That's a weird question. But if you're also doing your job, you shouldn't incarcerate everyone. I don't know. That's a tough question for a candidate to answer. I don't know what the right answer on that one is. That's a funny question.
Egregious as you think, but the converse can also be true. So I think it's just really a matter of as we're taught in criminal law, in law school, the punishment should be the least restrictive method to address the offense. And I definitely agree with rigorous programs that give accountability without over-incarceration. I think there's no benefit to society in over-incarcerating or over-punishing or overcharging, for that matter. Yes.
Thank you. Attorney Bearcat, we'll move to you now. I know you brought up incarceration rates earlier in this program. Where do you see them, and how do we improve upon making sure people don't come back to jail, into jail?
Well, Massachusetts is one of the lowest incarceration rates in the United States, but in my opinion, it's still too high. Like I said, there's more people incarcerated in Massachusetts than all of Europe, to the tune of about $75,000 per inmate per year, which could be used on the housing crisis, could be used on mental health treatment, could be used on substance use disorder treatment. Now,
such a good point. Bearcat is a public defender, so he's definitely going to feel like there's too many people being incarcerated, especially poor people who don't deserve it, overcharged, or maybe even didn't do the crime in certain cases. And he made such a good point on this. This was something that should be brought up a lot. We may be better than the rest of the country in terms of not incarcerating everyone, but compared to Europe, we're incarcerating a lot of people for a lot of cost. And it could be invested in other places.
when the data says that
Good answer.
incarceration increases recidivism, I think it should be a last resort incarceration then in that case, at least for nonviolent offenders. You have folks who are nonviolent offenders who end up incarcerated and who are traumatized by violence within the prisons. They, in many cases, for lack of better terms, learn to be better criminals while in jail, and they don't have any.
That's a problem, right? So many criminals, especially, younger ones too. When they're younger and they're kind of on the fence, you put them in jail, and all it does is put them around people who are professional criminals who turn them into full-time criminals. Like, you put people around criminals, you put them in jail, they're more likely to become criminals. I mean, you put people around successful people, they're more likely to be successful people. So environment means a lot. And Queen of the Pool, this is such a good comment. The U.S. has the highest number of incarcerated people in the world. I think we do. I think Russia might be number one. I think we might be number two. But compared to the rest of the Western world, not including Russia and maybe some of these outlier countries, and the Western world, the European countries, we do have the most and the highest number of people incarcerated. And if locking people up reduce violence, you'd expect less violence in America, but yet we have more violence. We have more people locked up and we have more violence. And I think that's because prison does create more violence. Like, it creates more violent people when they get let out. So I don't think locking up people always helps. I think there are some people that should be locked up and never let out just to protect us all. But that's, in a lot of cases, is not the case. And a lot of times we turn non-violent offenders into violent offenders later down the road, especially younger people.
Substantive resources to help them re-enter when they leave. So,
are you saying we're even higher than
with all
Russia
that being
now?
said, it should be really seen as a last
I thought
resort.
Russia
And,
was higher than us.
There are folks who that's all you can do is incarcerate them, and I'm talking about high crime, high violence situations, and the sad fact about it is that data also shows that people who are committing violent crimes also themselves at one point or another were a victim of violent crime.
Attorney Lee, what are your thoughts on this issue?
So I think when the question of incarceration is twofold. So you have incarceration for those who've been convicted of a crime, and that's relatively low in Massachusetts. But then the other issue is those who are held on pretrial detention because there's cash bails and they're unable to make the cash bails. And that is an issue. That's a county-specific issue, because I know in Suffolk County, South Bay is typically overcrowded. The Norfolk County Sheriff's Department, it's similar because of those who cannot make cash bails pending trial. So I think that issue, there's twofold. And I think when it comes to cash bail, as a district attorney, I will implement policies of when to ask for cash bails and when not to. Chapter 276, Section 58, recognizes that personal recognizance is the assumption when requesting bail. And there are a lot of factors when a cash bail should be imposed. But I think that removing that will relieve some of the pretrial detention, which is causing the overcrowding in many counties, even in Norfolk and as well as Suffolk County. In terms of reentry programs, there's a lot. I know personally from Mass Health that those who are set for release, they are ensured that they are in Mass Health, that they're getting health care. We need to also ensure that there's employment in place so that when there's reentry, we can guarantee success.
Thank you. And Attorney Deitch, we'll go to you for the last word. And because you're going last and these questions are getting more difficult, we'll pick up on a point that Attorney Lee mentioned also, if you want to incorporate it, you don't have to, which is the role that pretrial incarceration plays in incarceration and how bail can have the effect of holding people, particularly those without means, if you have any thoughts there.
So I have 60 seconds to address bail reform in Massachusetts. Can I actually go in a different direction? I think solving issues relating to mass incarceration are important. I will say, though, to bring things home a bit, when we're talking about the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, we're also talking about an office that has failed to investigate and prosecute some of the most violent crimes we've seen. And before we get to the issue of mass incarceration, when we're talking about a police officer murdering a 23-year-old woman, we should be investigating that case and prosecuting that case in Norfolk County. We should not be letting the U.S. Attorney's Office step in to fix the failures of this DA's office. And there are crimes like murder, like that murder, where incarceration.
This is where Deitch is really doing a good job in this forum. It's just bringing it right back to Senator Birchmore. It's something that he does really well. He's a good campaigner. He's a good public speaker, and he knows his talking points, which is bring it back to Senator Birchmore over and over. That's my advice to him. Keep doing that. Do the videos. If I were him in his campaign, I'd be doing daily videos with Adam Deitch. It could be a 2-minute video, maybe a 10-minute video, just a spiel on Sandra every day, something new.
Is 100% appropriate.
I believe we have time likely for one more question before we move to closing statements. We'll go to Attorney Perkins first. This is a question on about civil asset forfeiture. the taking of real property or money in connection with the
Rose, thank
prosecution
you.
of a criminal
Thank you so much,
case.
Rose, for being
And
here.
here's how the question is worded. Massachusetts has been determined to have one of the most severe civil asset forfeiture laws in the country. What is your position on reforming these laws? I suppose the question presumes a position, or do you think they should be reformed, or what role does civil asset forfeiture play under District Attorney Perkins' administration?
Well, I can't say that I am super familiar with the asset forfeiture law. I understand the concept, and I know that in many communities, and including in Norfolk County, asset forfeiture proceeds are used to support community endeavors like substance abuse disorder programs. In one instance I just heard about today, they also were used to provide electronic systems for courtrooms so that trials could be better and use greater technology. I guess my concern is more about the good faith basis on which some of the asset forfeitures may be made. But it does make sense that if you are taking proceeds of a crime to put that money back into the community as a concept. I'm not certain what the level of ethics, I guess, in the way our law particularly works.
Thank you. Attorney Barakat, I don't know if through personal experience in your involvement in Norfolk County or views on the system more broadly, do you have a view about how you would approach civil asset forfeiture as district attorney?
Well, I think it should be reasonably related to the crime if they're going to, seek the assets. Quite like any other, program they roll out. It's very racial disparate and immigrant disparate. You got police departments or district attorney's offices seizing more assets of people who might not be showing up to court with an attorney to object to the taking of their property. But I don't think there shouldn't be a blanket rule that there was a car parked in their driveway, so of a drug bust, so we can also just seize the car as well. I think it needs to be more ironclad. It needs to have this particular car was used during this crime, and we're gonna seize that as part of the civil forfeiture.
Thank you. Attorney Lee, same question to you. What is your position on civil asset forfeiture laws?
I have a lot of experience with asset forfeiture as the former head of the narcotics unit at Suffolk County, and I am a proponent of it for high-level drug.
Yeah, the candidates got sick of passing around the silly hat, didn't they? The hat's been stuck between Macy Lee and Adam Deitch. Well, we should have noted who stopped it when. That's a good point. I mean, that was kind of silly, wasn't it? They did stop it. I want to know who stopped it when. It looks like maybe it stopped at Adam Deitch, or did it stop at Macy Lee? One of them decided enough of this passing the hat around. It was pretty funny, actually.
Trafficking, where numerous amounts of cash were seized and they were forfeited through a civil lawsuit, so not with the criminal case, to ensure integrity of the forfeiture of these assets. These assets are really important, mainly because when you're talking about a large-scale drug trafficking organization, their assets help dismantle that DTO, drug trafficking organization. And those monies are then used to bring it back to the community. So for example, in Suffolk County, if you go to any of the criminal session courtrooms, all those courtrooms are outfitted with modern screens for the jury, for the judge, for the prosecutor. Those are all asset forfeiture monies that were seized from wiretap investigations. Those monies were also given back to the community through grants. The community is invited to submit grant applications, and the district attorney will then award grants to many different community organizations, neighborhood organizations. So I am a proponent of asset forfeiture, but particularly for high-level narcotic cases, and that they are to be done so through a civil complaint and not with a criminal case, so that it ensures integrity and accountability of any assets forfeited.
Thank you. Attorney Deitch.
Yeah, I agree that civil asset forfeiture is an important tool. The U.S. Attorney's Office, where I worked, has a robust civil asset forfeiture unit, although the U.S. Attorney's Office, unlike the DA's office, doesn't get to keep and utilize a portion of the proceeds. I think it's particularly important in this DA's office when we're talking about a budget and limited resources, and where in the past couple of years, $566,000 in taxpayer money was spent hiring an outside prosecutor to do a job we all assumed the DA's office should be doing itself, or where $400,000 of taxpayer money was spent hiring an expert to do I don't know what in the second Karen Reed trial. So I do think civil asset forfeiture is a good tool. My impression, actually, despite what I just said, is that the Norfolk DA's office has done a good job at least allocating asset forfeiture money to really good causes. And I want to continue that and strengthen that under my leadership.
He talks about the wasted money of hiring Hank. I mean, Deitch knows his talking points. He's good at it. That was a good response. Look at all the rest of them. They like this guy. He is a very good speaker. He's very good.
Thank you. And we'll provide the last word before we go on this or any other subject you'd like to bring up to you, Attorney Perkins. It's only fair because I skipped you earlier.
No.
The first question, we'll give you the last word, 60 seconds,
On
anything you'd
acid,
like to discuss.
anything. Yeah, I switching away from asset forfeiture, I just think the role of the district attorney is so important in every community. The stakes are often life and death. They have lifelong consequences. However, whatever decisions you make, and the crime itself obviously has those consequences. This is a really serious job, and I hope that the community takes it as seriously too, and that the voters really look at what we're doing.
Thank you. We have a different order for closing. Closing remarks. We're going to start with Attorney Lee, and then we'll have Attorney Barakat, followed by Attorney Perkins and Attorney Deitch last. So we'll start with you, Attorney Lee. I think we said 60 seconds for closing. No pressure.
No pressure. I think all of us here at this table can try a case to verdict, but that is not a necessary characteristic for a district attorney. What's required of a district attorney is someone who has proven leadership, managerial skills that can effectively manage and lead an office. Someone who can manage a budget, someone who can hire, can discipline, can set high standards. And I'm that person. I'm the only one here sitting at this table that has a proven record of extensive managerial and leadership skills.
Right there. I have to hit the bathroom, so I'm going to jump off for 1 second. I'm going to continue to play and watch. I'll be back before it's over, trust me. But let's listen to Macy Lee. And then I think it's Jim Barakat, and then Juna Perkins and Adam Deitch. Their closing statements. This is it. We're almost to the end. I want to thank everyone who's given me a super chat tonight, the Venmos, everyone who's making comments. You guys have made some great comments tonight.
Of a large-scale public-facing office. And that is what Norfolk County needs. Not a political figurehead, not someone who has been immersed in the county on a political scale, but someone who has a proven job record. And that is who I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Barakat.
Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. I don't want to be seen as kind of like the radical candidate. Everything I've said today is backed up by statistics and studies that were done by people who are much, much more smarter than I am. And I'm kind of just a regular guy. I appreciate all of you for being here today and taking part in this forum. I'm joined today by Laura, my beautiful wife in the back. And me and her have two girls that we raised, 2 young girls. And I don't want my kids growing up in a lawless county that is overrun by crime and drug use. I want my kids to grow up in a county that's forward-looking and a county that's humane and that treats people with dignity and gives them the due process rights that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Perkins.
One of the things I have enjoyed the most in visiting all 28 towns of the county in the past 2 years is seeing seeing the hundreds of people who do volunteer work all in their communities, whether it's by serving on select boards or finance committees or coaching Little League. And I have been so inspired by all of that. That, I believe, in our current national situation is incredibly important. I think that those people insisting on decency and fairness and respect for all of us is truly our superpower. And I think that I will be able to, given the endorsements I have from industry professionals, local electeds, and community leaders, more than 24 all over the county, I think that I have built those relationships and that I will be able to build that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, the last word to you, Attorney Deitch, if you could just synthesize every question that you've had so far in 60 seconds. Go.
So bail reform again?
Last word to you, closing remarks, whatever you want to say.
First of all, thank you again for being here with us and for inviting us here. It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to be able to sit with these qualified candidates and talk about the future of something that we care obviously very deeply about. I think in this race, I have a completely unique perspective and a completely unique set of experiences that meets this unique moment. I am the only candidate who's ever been a federal prosecutor. I am the only candidate in this race who specializes in public corruption cases. I'm the only candidate who has prosecuted police officers and public officials here in Norfolk County. I'm the only candidate who spent years working for the Innocence Project and seeing the hardest cases from both sides. And I think right now, for this job, in this moment, that is what we need in Norfolk County. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. I want to give a big round of applause. before I turn the program back over for final closing remarks to Amanda Taylor, amazing director of the Rappaport Center here, I just want to thank all of you. And just to highlight something that I found to be meaningful to me, which was just in meeting with all of you. I know we've never met before today, and seeing everyone in Stewart Hall here together, I was just struck by the respect and collegiality that you bring to one another. And the same tone that you bring to this debate. I think that is so wonderful and refreshing. It's really been a pleasure to get to meet you and to learn more about you today. And with that, another big thank you to Alexis Anderson for helping us. To Amanda Taylor, who helped to make all this possible for today.
Thank you. My name is Amanda Taylor. I'm the Executive Director for the Rappaport Center for Law and Public Policy. On behalf of our faculty director, Patricia McCoy, our center assistant, Alexis Albert, the Rappaport Center community and the Rappaport Foundation and BC Law, I want to thank all of you, the candidates, for participating today, but really for modeling, as Steve suggested, really the kind of substantive and respectful and thoughtful conversation that we want all of our students to aspire to. I also want to thank Steve for doing an incredible job moderating this. I knew he was up for the job, and he really did step up and deliver, Steve, so we really appreciate that. And last but not least, I want to thank the audience, both those of you who have joined us today, but also the many of you who are going to be watching this on YouTube afterwards. I know many of the students are being tasked with watching this as part of their syllabus as they wrap up this semester. And if you will indulge me for a second, I want to speak specifically to those students. My longest tenured job and the most meaningful work of my professional career was the years that I spent at a district attorney's office, first as an appellate prosecutor and later as chief of staff. So when our incredible advisory board suggested this forum, I really embraced it as a chance to celebrate that work. The people who with incredible intention and sometimes a great—
I think we're going to pause it there. It was a good debate, a good forum. I don't even know if we call it a debate or a forum, but I think they were all professional. I think Adam Deitch definitely won. If you were going to grade this, who won the debate tonight or won the forum, I think Adam Deitch definitely clearly was the stronger. He's the best communicator by far of the field. I think Juna Perkins still did a good job. If I were Juna, I would lean in a little more to her endorsements. I'd be bringing them up. I'd be bringing up the names, bring up the list. Susan Harrington, start naming the select board members, the local town officials that you have endorsing you. I think it would go a long way. She did mention that in her closing statements, but I think she should start dropping names, talk about some of her endorsements, because a lot of the other candidates don't have the endorsements that she has. And those are the local town people who are going to be voting. So that would be my advice to her. I think Adam Deitch did a really good job bringing up Sander Birchmore and bringing up what he brings to the table. So I think this was good to watch. I think Jim Barracat, he wins the Best Head of Lettuce award. Adam Deitch second. We get some good sets of hair. The ladies got some good hair too. Good set of lettuce. Yes, freeze frame. I want to thank all of our super chatters tonight. Thank you so much to the Turtle Boy War Room for getting everybody up in a lather and getting these super chatters up tonight. I want to thank everybody who gave us a super chat. Simon, Law Talkers, Sue B. Doobie. Thank you so much. Again, Rando supporter who also gave a Venmo. We had some Venmos tonight. I want to thank the Venmos. Natalie, Diana coming through with the biggest super chat tonight. $49. Thank you so much. Look at what the Turtle War Room did for us tonight. Yeah, thank you, Rose, who got it going in the very beginning. What a great turnout tonight. Thank you so much for watching, for sticking around. We didn't have like the biggest chat tonight, but it grew throughout the night. It just kept growing. We have more people watching than when we started, so that's a good sign. People were interested in tonight. There's still a couple people on Twitch watching us. A lot of people on Twitter watching as well. I want to see some Twitter comments and some Twitch comments before we leave. That's the only thing that will make it complete tonight. Please, if you're watching on Twitch, give us a comment. Haven't had a Twitch comment or a Twitter comment come through in a while. And we do have quite a few people watching us on Twitter. All right. I want to thank everyone for watching us. Thank you to our mod team. Thank you for the trolls for watching. Where are the trolls? No troll comments tonight. was hoping we might get a couple trolls. I don't know. Maybe we didn't talk enough about what's going on. All right. I don't know when I'm going to be back next. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday. Who knows? If I feel like covering something. Monday night, I'm hoping to have that interview that we're hoping to have tonight. We might do it late on Monday night at 9. We'll see. It's tentative. I think on Wednesday we may have an interview too with somebody else. We're going to have some interviews coming up. I'm looking forward to having some guests on the show. Definitely going to be ramping it back up. I want to thank all my jerks out there. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy the weather, and I'll see you soon. If you haven't yet, make sure you like and especially subscribe. That's the big thing. If you haven't done it so, about half of you will watch haven't subscribed. Please hit that sub button. Become a subscriber. Hit all notifications. Yeah, thank you, Rando. Rando's still there. Rando, thank you so much for the Venmo tonight and the super chat. You rule. Thank you so much, Rando. And I agree, they all have a good head of hair. Yes. Yeah, and it's kind of my happy birthday show late. I didn't do a happy birthday show this year, so this is kind of it. Yeah, it was a great happy birthday show. I want to thank everyone for supporting, liking, subscribing, sharing, and being here for us. I will see you soon. I'm not sure when, but again, thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone. Peace out, jerks. We'll see you soon.